Larry Dixon, it's not a question of if, but a matter of when he will clinch his second consecutive Top Fuel Championship. Final eliminations from the Motorplex are next. Welcome to the Wild, Wild West. A long time ago, this place was ruled by the fastest gunslingers in the world. Well, those gunslingers are back in town. Top Gun Larry Dixon has a chance to seal his second consecutive Top Fuel Championship this weekend. Whitten Bazemore dodged a huge bullet in Reading when he failed to qualify, but he's still within striking distance of Tony Pedregon. These two guys could be setting up for one final showdown. And Greg Anderson has shown that he is the new sheriff in Pro Stock. He too can clinch the title today. Presentation, final eliminations of the 18th running of the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, brought to you by Powerade, O'Reilly Auto Parts, your race headquarters, and Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. Back here at the Texas Motorplex, and the O'Reilly Fall Nationals getting ready now for Corey McClenathan. Had the lane choice, decided to go into the right lane. He'll be alongside of John Smith. These guys have only met once prior this year. That was round one back in Atlanta, and John won that matchup.
Yeah, but, you know, Corey McClenathan usually, lately, has been qualifying very, very well. It's a little bit of an exception here. He struggled, did get down the racetrack on Friday, had a front tire get cut down, and he actually couldn't make the third qualifying session, and then got in and ran a 461 on the last session. So hopefully they'll turn that around, be able to struggle a little in qualifying and have a good day on race day. And that car definitely capable of doing, because John Stewart's had it running consistently in the 450 range. But I'll tell you, this car here too, John Smith has looked very well as of late.
You saw the ball of fire at the far end, 311 miles an hour. John Smith actually was first off the line by 3/100ths, but Corey drives around him. Let's take another look.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Marty. John definitely had the advantage, almost 300ths of a second off the starting line, but then he put a cylinder out. You can see right over there, run on 7 cylinders. That allowed Corey to go on by and make a nice run. I'm sure this is about what John Stewart was looking for. Look at that thing carry the front end. Nice launch there, and then they probably didn't get real aggressive on the clutch setup right through this point here. Didn't want to spin the tires. Corey fighting to keep it in the groove. He went a little bit to the right, but it stayed stuck and made a nice pass.
And we're glad you're with us here for 3 hours of coverage here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. Let's talk a little bit about this racetrack. It's the only totally concrete surface that we have, but the groove is extremely narrow.
Well, yeah, it is, Marty. And I was lucky enough to run here when the track opened in 1986 when I was driving funny car and raced Billy Meyer. And one of the things, we came in here and we ran a 10th quicker than either of us had up to that point. The track was just that good, being all concrete. But one of the characteristics, even back then and still continues to this day, with that narrow groove is not so much the narrow groove, but if you get out of the groove, especially down track in the concrete, the cars tend to want to move around. One of the theories is that because of all the rubber gets laid out on the track, you get what we call the marbles. They don't have the porosity in the concrete, so then the tires get on there and they tend to slide a little bit more. And I tell you one thing, I've taken a few wild rides when I've gotten out of the groove down track, and sometimes it's a handful.
Let's check in now with Parker Johnstone.
Well, Marty, in just a few minutes, Greg Anderson and the rest of the Pro Stock field will be pulling down into the staging lanes. For Greg Anderson, it's his 6th year in the NHRA behind the wheel of a Pro Stock car, and no one will ever accuse Greg Anderson, as he chases the dream of becoming Pro Stock champ, of backing into this title. With 12 #1 qualifying positions this year, 9 race wins, and 21 ET and speed track records, as well as winning at the U.S. Nationals and setting new national ET and speed records. Greg had an enormous dream coming into the 2003 season, and now it looks like he's going to fulfill that dream in a very large way.
Thanks, Parker, as engines have fired again down the starting line as you look on top of Rick Stewart's hat, our chief starter here at the National Hot Rod Association. We're getting ready for Jim Head in the left lane, Clay Milliken in the right lane. More from Bill.
Hey, Mike, Don, a couple of times now in the first round, we've already seen a couple of cars fireball, and I think the reason is these guys are going after it today. We got overcast, a great racetrack, and why be conservative with 3 races left in the year? Why not throw everything at these cars and try to be a hero, go out in the blaze of glory today?
Well, I definitely agree with that, Bill. I mean, the track conditions are very good, but remember, the track's a little bit bumpy out there, especially from 300 foot to half track, and that's where the cars kind of get in trouble. But when the conditions are like that, usually the track's a little bit more forgiving and they can get more aggressive on the tune-up.
Could it also be this is 7 weekends in a row we've been on the road, and maybe some of the teams are stretched a little thin on parts? Who knows? Dropped a cylinder, and 455 for Jim Head. 331 miles an hour moves him into the second round of racing. When we come back, Tony Schumacher, the #1 qualifier, up against number 16. That's right, Doug Coletta. Batted Paul Correa, Teemu Solani to an already potent offense that includes Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg. Tonight, they welcome the St. Louis Blues to the Pepsi Center. NHL on ESPN2 Sunday at 9 Eastern. For more, log on to ESPN.com. You're looking now at the Army of One, Tony Schumacher, and he has been firing a howitzer, to say the least. Doug Coletta, basically his back is against the wall for the second race in a row. He is in the number 16 qualified position. He has to keep winning, or that man right there clinches the championship. If Coletta loses, it's all over for 2003. Dave Reed.
Very big race also for Doug Coletta, trying to protect number 2 in points. Tony Schumacher's eaten up a lot of ground. As you said, he is firing a howitzer. Talked with Alan Johnson about how he's going to approach this round. He says he knows that there is another 440 race car sitting over in the opposite lane, so he has got this thing tuned up. He knows that they can throw that number out at any time, so Alan Johnson is going to be very, very aggressive and try to shoot for a low 450 to not only gain some valuable points in that battle for second, but to lock up a championship for a guy who drives a blue car.
Well, this makes the 6th race in a row where these two have come up side by side. And the second time it's been in the first round. And of course, at Reading, Tony won that race. He hasn't lost in first round since St. Louis. This could be Doug's second first-round loss in a row and would seal the deal.
You know, Doug has not really been down the racetrack. He got in the show with that 480, but basically spun the tires from 300 feet to the other end. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
It's not over yet. A 448, 330 miles an hour, a track record ET for Doug Coletta, and boy, he was 028 on the light, and no trophy yet for that man right there or Dick LaHaye. They're going to have to wait. I don't know what got into Schumacher. That's probably the worst light we've seen him cut all season long.
Yeah, that was a big surprise. I actually thought Doug red light, he left so far ahead, but I mean, he definitely hit an 028 light, which probably took a little bit of a shot at the tree, but Tony Schumacher was just dead late with a .197 on the reaction time. But what can you say about Jim Oberhofer and Connie Coletta? Look at that car arced up through the middle. 448, 276 miles an hour at the 8th, and then finished at the top end with over 330 miles per hour.
Parker?
With Dick LaHaye. Dick, it's not over yet.
Well, rightfully it is. It's just that we've got to go some rounds to make it all the numbers show that it's over. We're in pretty good shape here. It's been a long year, and we'll see what happens here. You know, when we run out of races, we've got enough point lead where we should be okay, I hope, you know.
And Bill, when Dick LaHaye says they're in pretty good shape, everyone else should be worried.
Yeah, that's 2 years running now. That's been the story. But Doug Coletta, you're not through yet, are you?
I tell you, that was a nerve-wracking round. You know, 16th qualifier, and had a good first-round run. So, you know, just hats off to Connie and the whole Mac Tools team here. Really unbelievable. Just the way we've struggled, and hopefully we're going to have a good day here. So we'll see how it goes.
You know what you ran, right?
Yeah, 48. You know, that's awesome. One round at a time, man. I'm like pins and needles here right now. But, you know, we'll just go the next round, see what we can do.
3 more of those could be all he needs today.
There you see what will it take now for Larry Dixon to definitely clinch mathematically. And Dick LaHaye's right. For all intents and purposes, like we've talked about, it's just a matter of time, but the numbers have to add up, and that's what it will take to make that happen. Back at the starting line, time for Paul Romine. He'll be over in the right lane against Scott Wise.
And Paul Romine and crew chief Jimmy Walsh, they've really been doing a good job. The car's been running consistently in the 450s in qualifying since Indy, but they struggled a little bit here. Didn't get down the racetrack. Basically had to back it down and just make sure they got in the show. Ran a 466. Scott Weiss, on the other hand, you know, he's running Doug Coletta's combination, basically. Conrad and old Jim Overhofer helped this team out. They run the used parts. They can't afford to run it as hard as Dougie, but they still run good. That's a consistent 450 race car when it's on, and he qualified here with a 458. This should be a good race.
You get the view. There's what the camera looks like on top of Rick Stewart's hat. Right up to the finish line. Paul Romine, you saw him erupt right after the stripe. He runs 463 at 312 miles an hour to a 471 for Scott Wise. Let's check in with Bill.
The question we're going to ask you, Tony, was that why was your reaction time so soft, but it wasn't anything you consciously did. Something weird happened.
Well, I just pulled the pumps on. He went in, flickered the lights, which is okay. I mean, he was trying to go inch yellow and left, and I just thought he ran. I mean, I ducked. You know, when a car leaves like that, you got to remember they're making 8,000 horsepower. I never saw yellow. He left before I even saw it flash, so it threw me off guard. I thought he red lit. I saw his wind light come on at the end. I thought, oh man, I'm in trouble here. But hats off. I mean, he ran a 48. He did what he had to do to beat us. Great team. He's trying to still win that championship. Not sure if it's going to happen, but they did a great job that weekend, and we didn't get it done.
And that may have sunk Tony's ship for catching Doug for second place.
You're absolutely right, Bill, as far as the points situation. Let's go back and take another look. That's just how quickly it happened.
Yeah, and what Tony was alluding to was the bottom stage light was flickering. That threw him off just a little bit as Doug went into stage, and then when he heard Doug leave, that just threw him off. Yeah, this was a good drag race here, Marty. Scott Weiss was actually ahead to the 1,000-foot mark right there when he lost the belt, and that allowed Paul Romine to go by for the win.
And we can tell you Paul has been charged with oil. That's his 5th, so it's going to cost him $1,000 and 10 championship points, and he is trying to crack into the top 10. He's 11th right now. Back at the starting line, the man that's right ahead of him in the points championship chase is Kenny Bernstein. He'll be in the left lane. He has the lane choice. He decided to go into the left lane. And David Baca in the American Racing Wheels top fueler over in the right lane. Close, a 462 to a 465, and Kenny Bernstein takes the win light, 323 miles an hour. So not the kind of number that probably Tim Richards was looking for after what he saw Doug Coletta run, but there's the margin of difference. More top fuel when we come back. ESPN's Original Entertainment's Playmakers continues Tuesday. This week, Leon is in trouble. The coach and the team must make a decision on how to handle the situation. Playmakers, 9 Eastern and Pacific on ESPN, and it's also available on high definition on ESPN HD. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Well, to become a champion race car driver, you need experience, determination, and yes, a little luck. And of course, Larry Dixon is no exception to that rule.
I learned to love racing through my dad. Ever since I can remember, we always went to the races. My dad, raced top fuel cars in the 60s and the 70s. My dad retired from racing top fuel in '79. And I'd go by Snake's shop and hang out at, their crew, because they're from the same town as me. And I'd hitch rides with them out to the racetrack when they'd run at, Orange County or Bakersfield or things like that, just to be able to go out to the racetrack. I wanted to drive, but I had no idea how I would ever be able to get there. If I couldn't do that, I was going to work on the cars. When you're a kid, you got a timeline for where you want to be at 25 or 30 or anything like that. And, I got to 25 and I wasn't there. I thought maybe I could be driving something, by the time I'm 25, and I kind of blew by. Snake, for Christmas bonus one time, sent me to Frank Hawley School to drive a alcohol car. Tony Petragon had left John Mitchell's team to go drive for Larry Minor in his fuel car, and so there was there was an opening. So I just called him up and said, "Hey, I want to drive," and he said, "Yeah," and I was like, "Really?" 1993, run out of money, needed to go back doing what I could to pay my bills. Talked to the snake. Yeah, I need a job. He said, you can't go out driving anything. You got to concentrate on my car. And I said, no problem, you know. One time we got talking about testing, and so he's like, well, what, you know, talking to Wes, and I'm over here and I'm washing parts in the shop, and well, why don't you let him get his license, and then that way you guys could go test anytime you want. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like, listening to this, and that's pretty much how it went. When I started racing, my goal was winning 1 race, and then my first year we ended up winning 4, and you know, you finish 3rd in the points, and you're like, wow, you know, like if you get a good run going, you might be able to win a championship. And it took quite a few years to make it happen, and it did happen. Everything that I've ever wanted to do for me in my lifetime, I've done it already. Like, it's all in there. Everything else is gravy. This is the best times of my life. I'm not gonna blow it, you know, worrying about when it's gonna end. Just ride it out.
Take a look at this, and maybe it'll put it in perspective for you. In Larry's first 7 years, he had 16 wins. In the last 2, he's had 17. 44 first-round losses to 3. 12 times the #1 qualifier, 11 in the last 2 years. And, of course, crew chief Dick LaHaye gets a lot of the credit as well as the rest of the team. And as Larry completes the burnout, we already know that the championship crowning ceremony will at least have to wait 1 more round. He's got to get past Bill Ancona. There's the mathematical statistics side of it. He's got to get to the semifinals to do it on his own. Doug Kalita has to keep going rounds.
And there's no guarantee that he's going to do it, Margie, because we've heard Dick LaHaye say that he does not like cool, cold racetracks. And now with the cloud cover, this track's actually cooler than we've seen it probably all week, and it's very, very tight. Obviously, by evidence of Doug Kalita's 448, we know the track has some teeth, and that's not the kind of conditions Dick LaHaye has been liking lately. The cars tend to spin the tires more at the hit of the throttle than not lately.
Dave Reed
did have a chance briefly to talk to Dick LaHaye, who is not getting too far over center about this round. You heard him talk to Parker Johnstone about the championship all but being locked up mathematically. So I asked him exactly how he's approaching this. He said, we're going to go out there and do what we normally do, try to win this round with the mid-450. Larry will go out and cut a good light. My car will go down the racetrack like it's been doing most of the time. But keep in mind, that car struggled the last race, but they seem like they found their combination here.
Well, how would you like to beat Bill Ancona? He's qualified for his first ever NHRA Top Fuel event, and he's got to go up against the Top Fuel champion. He's out on him, but Larry drives around him. Bill was first off the line by 3/100ths of a second, but Larry keeps his first-round winning streak alive. He has not lost in the first round this year. He runs 460 at 320 miles an hour. Take a look at the incrementals.
I mean, Bill Ancona did a great job. Got the advantage off the starting line. Was still ahead at 60 feet, but it took till half track before Larry Dixon pulled alongside and then pulled away for the win right at the stripe.
Take another look in slow motion, and you can see wheels up.
But like Dave Reed said, Dick LaHaye was trying to run a 455. It was off a little bit. They probably softened her a little bit through the middle, right in that area there as you start applying the clutch. Went 270 miles an hour in the 8th, but still a nice pass to get into the next round.
Matchup of the Kalitas in round number 2. Lane choice to Doug. Jim Head has the lane choice over Paul Romine. Larry Dixon, Kenny Bernstein over on the other side of the ladder. We come back. It's time for Funny Car. Whit Bazemore chasing down Tony Pedregon here at the Texas Motorplex. Back here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals at the Texas Motorplex. Our cloud cover continues as we get ready for first round action in Funny Car. And the points chase right now stands at 94 with Tony Pedregon leading over Whit Bazemore. John Force still a mathematical chance, but for all intents and purposes, this is a two-man battle. Let's show you the ladder, the matchups in the first round. You can see that Force and Bazemore are on the same side of the equation. And over on the other side, there is Gary Scelzi, who could help out his teammate if he could hook up with Tony Pedregon in the semifinals. We'll find out how far we have to go. First up, it's going to be Del Worsham and Jack Wyatt. Now, Del Worsham, the defending event winner here, has had an eventful 7 days. Let's go back to Reading. If you were watching a little bit earlier today, watch the right lane. You saw this happen as Dell's car just literally exploded in the lights. And watch his head in this roll cage.
Boy, he's just trying to get this car stopped. He can't see at this point because there's oil on his visor. He's just basically reacting to whichever way the car goes. And boy, look at that thing just bouncing his head around there.
And here he is 1 week later. They found later that the chassis was cracked. So this is the winning chassis from last year's event right here at Dallas. And Dell qualified in the number 4 spot at 486. So obviously they've got the car running, but Jack Wyatt is their first round opposition. In fact, Wyatt is not going to make the call. And Dell runs a very strong 481, 321 miles an hour to take the win light here in the opening round. So we're going to take another commercial break here at the Texas Motorplex, and the big first round matchup still to come involving Whit Bazemore and Tony Pedregon. Back here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, Whit Bazemore getting ready for first round battle. He'll be up against Tommy Johnson Jr. That matchup still to come. First, we're going to look at John Force's team car of Gary Dencham up against Bob Gilbertson. And let's talk a little bit about Funny Car.
Well, the wheelbase on a funny car is a maximum of 125 inches, which pretty much all the teams run at. The engine, being in front of the driver, is normally 65 to 68 inches out. Remember, that's from the center line of the rear axle or rear wheel to the back of the engine block. And they do that to help transfer the weight too, because of the short wheelbase, to get those cars to propel down the track.
Bob Gilbertson has brought Ed the Ace McCullough on board as a consultant on this team. He is qualified number 14 for today's race action. He's going to be in the left lane. There is the Ace. Dencham had the lane choice, decided to go over into the right lane.
Yeah, I think picking up Ed the Ace McCullough was a good move for Bob Gilbertson. I mean, obviously this is his first race. He's just getting his feet wet, trying to see how the team works and everything. But I think he's going to fit in real well. He's a very talented individual. There's a ton of experience. And they got a tough one up against Gary Dencham and Jimmy Prock right now. That car's been making a ton of horsepower, runs some big numbers.
They've met 4 times this year. Gary has won 3 of them. Does it again. He runs 487, 298 miles an hour to take the win light. Let's check in now with Parker Johnstone.
Well, Marty, before strapping into their cars, I checked in with the 2 protagonists in the Funny Car Championship battle, Tony Pedregon and Whit Bazemore. What a contrast in personalities, and I've seen this so often in my years in racing. The normally laid-back Tony Pedregon, very much on edge, limbs shaking, him getting pumped up. Whit Bazemore, normally very animated, very laid back. In fact, he said he took a nap this morning before coming out to this first round of eliminations.
What about you, Mike? What were you? Were you wired or were you laid back?
It depended on the situation. A lot of times, you know, if you get excited, obviously, in a situation like this, but normally, you know, I'm sure Tony Pedregon's the same way. Once the engine starts, you calm down, you just focus on doing your job, and usually you're okay.
As we get ready for John Force and Corey Lee, let's check in with Dave Reeve.
Marty, who knows what might have been for Doug Coletta. Remember 1 week ago in Reading, he didn't even make the call against Tony Schumacher in round 1 due to a blown head gasket while turning that car over before it even started. But this week, you can see that things are absolutely running to perfection. A great 448 pass has Doug Coletta and this team rejuvenated again as they continue to try to hold on to that number 2 spot in the points. Should make note that this is the very first time that both of the Mac Tools cars have qualified and gone past the round 1. But of course, as irony would have it, it is Scott Coletta that races Doug Coletta in round number 2. And you can see the guys are hot and heavy over on that side of the pit too, at the Jesse James pit.
Thanks, Dave. Back out on the starting line, Corey Lee. The number 16 qualifier going to try and deny John Force here in the opening round. John really loves this track. He's got 5 wins. He's won the pole 10 times here, including this year. I mean, you might as well buy stock in the place. gets his car slowed. Corey doing a magnificent piece of driving to get that T2 car stopped. And look at the damage on the back of that body.
Wow, you're right, Marty. Corey did an excellent job. This is actually a pretty good race for most part. Corey was right there up to about half track. John started pulling weight right there, man. Just blows the tire out. Did a good job. Had the shootout right away. Kept the car straight, and it looked like he got the other chute. Let's look from another angle. Once again, both drivers left about the same time. See John right about there. He starts pulling away. Corey still makes a nice pass, and then right at the finish line, we're going to see that tire go, and it's already down on the chassis. There's a chute coming out. Actually got both chutes out, which definitely helps keep this thing straight, because we've got to remember it blows the one side of the spoiler off. That tends to want to drive the car one way or the other, but the chute helps keep that car straight. There comes the second chute, and then basically right there, Corey's doing a great job getting that thing stopped.
What's left of the body is lifted by safety workers, and there is what's left of the tire. And there's Corey Lee out of the car, and he is okay. Let's go back and take another look at this super slow-mo.
Yeah, let's see if we can tell what. I mean, obviously the tire did blow out just right about the finish line, and you know, the problem is it takes a lot of the spoiler out along with it when it does that. You know, that's the one thing about a funny car. You still have the big deck, so it was still able to have some little bit of control, unlike a top fuel dragster when they lose a wing. But still, it's a handful when that wing gets blown off like that, especially when you're on, you know, basically on 3 tires. Parachute once again, that definitely helped keep that car straight. But I still say, I mean, Corey Lee did a great job.
Let's go to Parker.
With Tony Pedregron's crew chief John Medlin. John, notice you're making last-minute adjustments to the car. The track hasn't been the same 2 runs in a row all weekend, but now the air's changed.
Yeah, it's a real juggling match. The track right now is probably better than it has been all weekend, but we've got a climate change too, so that's why you see the ETs that you're seeing here today. We just hope we can adapt to these conditions as best we can.
And so what did you just do in the fuel there?
We were a little short on the nitro percentage, so we just bumped it up just a hair to accommodate a little more temperature and humidity than what we thought.
Fine adjustments to try to keep this car leading the Funny Car Championship.
Let's take another look one more time at this. Watch the car lift. I don't know if that's the explosion of the air coming out right about in here.
Yeah, I think that's just the tire letting go, and it's right at the end of the transition from the concrete to the asphalt, so there might be a little bit of a lip there too that just added to that effect, but looked like it just lost the tire.
There's Corey Lee. Let's go to Bill.
Well, how'd that feel?
Well, you know, I was pretty hungry. Those Tigers that were eating that Siegfried and Roy guy had nothing on me this weekend, but you know, I saw John out ahead of me, and I had to stay with him. You never know what'll happen. Started pulling on the top end, and then it blew up, and it came back and whacked my head a little bit. All I could see was the wall a little bit, and you know, you have to do what you have to do, but it's funny car driving, and that's how it is.
You didn't hit anything out there, did you?
No, I don't think so. It looked good, you know, where I was. It was staying in the middle, and moved right, moved left. It's all good, though.
Hey, you did a nice job keeping it off the wall. Hey, I hope you got the receipt for that tire.
We've got to take a commercial break as they continue the cleanup here. Whit Bazemore up against Tommy Johnson when we come back. Back here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, taking one more look at the tire explosion on Corey Lee's car. I'm sure the Goodyear officials are going to be looking at it as well. Let's go to Bill.
Well, Corey Lee mentioned when the tire exploded that he took a little bit of shot on the head, and you can see on the damage here on the back of his what used to be a Pontiac Firebird funny car body just how bad that tire caused damage to the left rear corner of the automobile. That's all very expensive carbon fiber you see that's been turned into trash, and right there's the roll cage. So just about 1.5 feet or 2 feet in front of that tire is where Corey Lee was sitting, and it's no wonder that a pretty good shot in the back of his head when that tire came up.
And that's exactly why I'll stay in this seat right here. Thank you. Body coming down on Gary Selzy's machine. He's going to be in the left lane. He had the lane choice. And Dale Creasy, who picked up his first round win of the year last race and last weekend at Reading.
And he did that taking out points leader Tony Pedregon. He would like nothing better than to be able to do the same thing here for Gary Selzy. But Gary Selzy's been looking very good. That car's been consistently quick and fast in qualifying.
487 at 321 miles an hour, a 513 for Dale Creasy. You saw Don Schumacher and the Mopar Dodge and the Oakley team moving on to second round.
This is just what crew chief Mike Neff and that whole Oakley team wanted to do, just get the thing into the next round. You see Gary did a great job keeping that thing in the groove like we've been talking about. Narrow groove here, and he's been doing it all week, and that thing has really been stuck and been on rails all weekend, and that's what you need to do if you want to get in the next rounds and here at the Texas Motorplex, because if you get out of the groove, it is really loose. But this was a nice job by that team.
And there is Whit Bazemore. He will be up next with Tommy Johnson Jr. Let's get a little more insight into Whit.
Hi, I'm Whit Bazemore. I live in Indianapolis with my wife, Michelle, and our two cats, Hero and Suki. Away from the track, one of my favorite things to do is to take a 100-mile bike ride with my wife, Michelle. My favorite time in this sport is right now, chasing this championship and winning races.
And as the engine comes to life and the body comes down, Whit, trailing by 94 points, still maintained a sense of humor. We'll show you what happened a little bit earlier during driver introductions right there. He comes out. The draw auction was last night. Draw is the drag racing auxiliary for women. And a $2,000 donation got Whit to model this sucker in the middle of the driver introductions. And a great time was had by all.
Oh, my God. And I ride bikes with him wearing spandex. I tell you what, after that, I'm going to have to go buy a bigger truck just to compensate.
Parker, how do I follow that? Well, Dave Reef and I enjoy getting the crew chiefs to predict what sort of ET they'll run. I just asked Lee Beard what sort of tune-up he had for Whit Bazemore. He gave me a steely-eyed look, and he said, Parker, I've got it tuned to run as fast as it's going to run. I have no idea what that is.
Well, and as Tommy Johnson over in the other lane is going to play a role, so will his teammate Ron Capps. Both of Don Prudhomme's cars. Capps will be squaring off next up against Tony Pedregon. I mean, they can have an outcome on this championship chase, and there is Tommy Johnson.
And you know, you're exactly right, Marty. With these kind of conditions, anything can happen. I tell you, Tommy Johnson, you know, they haven't kind of got up to the point where I thought they would. I mean, they came out at the beginning of the season looking very, very good, very consistent, but they just haven't seemed to improve. But you can never count Mike Green and Tommy Johnson Jr. out. Lee Beard, Whit Bazemore, they know that they're going to have to be on their game.
These guys have met 5 times this year. Whit has won 4 of them. If he wants the championship, he needs to make it number 5 right now. The win line to Bazemore, and he drove around him at the finish line because the advantage for Tommy Johnson was slight, but it was there. And a 485 to a 486, and now the pressure is on Tony. Parker.
Lee Beard, the tune-up work, he drove around him at the finish line.
Yeah, you know, Whit socked her in there a little deep, so it probably ran a touch quicker than that. But, you know, we're down to where you can't make a mistake. Every single round, you've got to be there. And, yeah, I'll tell you what, my team's going to rise to the occasion.
Staying alive.
Take another look. Can't tell from that angle just how deep Whit may have stayed. Look at that little sachet to the left in the middle of the lane there.
Yeah, but Whit brought it right back. Right there, they moved out, and they brought it right back over the groove. Cost him a little bit of time, but luckily it didn't spin the tires, unlike what we saw him do at Joliet. Watch here, you see the incrementals. TJ was ahead pretty much all the way down to right at the end because of that little bobble right there about, you know, mid-track, and then Whit wheeled it back in and was able to drive by for the margin of victory right there. 22 10,000ths of a second. What a great drag race.
The only bad news for Whit in this is he will not have lane choice. That will go to Del Worsham. Worsham ran a 481. Lee Beard, the expression, saying, okay, we're still alive. So now it'll be time for Tony Pedregon and Ron Capps, and we'll find out what happens when we come back. Because remember what happened to Ron Capps here last year? Oh, yeah, Ron doesn't want to think about it either. Don't forget that coming up next, we're going to have St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche. And NHL Tonight follows the game right after that. 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com. And now, the ball is in, or should I say the hockey puck, since we just did the hockey promo. The puck is in Tony Pedregon's corner, and it's time for him to match the performance of Whit Bazemore. Ron Capps will be over in the other lane.
A lot of pressure here for both drivers. Obviously, Tony Pedregon needs to get this win. He knows that Whit got the win. He's moved within 20 points if he can't get by this run, but it's going to be tough.
Parker?
Well, we talked to John Medlin about adding the nitro. It's more hot, more humid to get more power out of the engine. He also got more aggressive with the clutch.
Capps is up in smoke. And a 487 for Tony Pedregon. And by 1/1000th of a second, he will have lane choice over Gary Densham in the second round. Let's go to Bill.
Well, by 1,000th of a second, you won't have lane choice, Whit, but I'll tell you, you're kind of lucky to be here because you had all you wanted in that first round.
Why are we lucky?
Because it was a very tight race, and by 22/10,000ths of a second, you got around it.
Yeah, well, that ain't all luck. You know, that's NHRA Powerade drag racing. It's close, it's tight. Memphis, we won a couple rounds by thousandths, and you know, it doesn't matter as a driver. It doesn't matter how close it is. All that matters is you win. And as a driver, you don't know up there what's going to happen. So, you know, it's just never say never till it's over. But I credit the team, Lee Beard, everybody. That ain't luck. It's talent.
Well, on to the second round.
Now let's go back to Tony's run, and boy, Capps up in smoke by, well, about 150 feet out.
Yeah, it was over early for Ron Capps. Tony Pedregon, on the other hand, just like Whit, he started to move over a little bit towards the wall. Didn't get quite as far out of the groove as we saw Whit, but he still made a nice pass, ran 200s quicker than his qualifying run of 489. Makes a 487 pass right down the track. Nice job.
Let's check in back in the pits with Dave Reef.
And Marty, the first team to tip their caps to Bill Ancona, making his first NHRA drag race, and giving this team all they could worth would be Larry Dixon, who we were talking a little bit ago. That was a great side-by-side pass for the fans and for everybody on TV land. But what did you know of that race? Did you know he was out there?
No, you really don't. I mean, I've had races even tighter than that, you know, where it's won or lost by 1,000 or 2 a second. And with the high sides on the car, and I got blinders on my helmet, you know, so you really focused on going down your lane, and you can't hear them because your car's making more noise than theirs, and it's just, yeah, you're the last one to know that it's a good drag race.
Here's a look at your helmet. You can see how small that viewing area really is. You're not seeing a whole heck of a lot, are you, except for the racetrack? You're not seeing much but the racetrack.
That's all I'm supposed to see.
And he does a good job of looking at it, that's for sure. Let's go to the far end. Check in with Bill.
Was that exciting enough for you there, Tony?
Well, that was nothing personal. I'm sure Whit's not rooting for me, but I was go Tommy go, and it was a pretty awesome race, but that's what you get over here in the Motorplex, and still got a lot of work to do, but it's nice to be able to recover. We really didn't do the job we wanted to in qualifying, and Casper Syntec and Ford and Maxwell and Goodyear, they're hanging with us, and ways to go.
The battle is far from over.
At the starting line now, it is Tim Wilkerson and Dean Scusa. These guys hooked up back at the semifinals at Indy. Wilkerson won that one.
This should be a good matchup, Marty, because Tim Wilkerson obviously been running very good, very consistent. Dean struggled getting qualifying, but this car has been running the big numbers. If he gets hooked up, it should be a good race.
And Dean runs 496 at 287. You saw Wilkerson slow about half track. So Scusa evens the score at 1 win apiece in 2003, putting Tim Wilkerson on the trailer. We've got to go to commercial break. One more pair of funny cars and all the Pro Stock when we come back to the Texas Motorplex. Don't forget, ESPN's Playmakers continues on Tuesday. Leon's in trouble, and the coach of the team must make a decision on how to handle the situation. Playmakers, 9 Eastern and Pacific on ESPN. It's also available on ESPN HD. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Our final funny car pair here in round number 1. Phil Burkhart in the right lane up against Scotty Cannon. Goes 4.84 seconds. Del Worsham likes it as the team car goes 316 miles an hour, and he'll get a shot at John Force, and he will have lane choice over Force.
And this is what Phil Burkhart was looking for. Crew chief Chris Cunningham, Mark Denner, they were struggling a little bit. This car's been running consistently in the 480s coming into this race, but they struggled in qualifying. But these are the kind of conditions they've been liking. Got that car solidly down the racetrack of 484. Scotty McCann, on the other hand, he made a good pass. Didn't go up in tire smoke like we've seen a lot of times, that they went right down the racetrack, run 487, which was an improvement on his qualifying time, but unfortunately it came up just a little bit too short.
And Scotty Cannon sets a new track speed mark at 325 and high change in the losing effort. Here are the matchups for round 2. You can see the arrow indicates who has the lane choice as we go to Dave Reed.
Well, Tony Pedregon has been back to the pits now for about 3 minutes. The top of the car already been taken off, and you can see the work beginning to go on. John Medlin and Dickie Venables right now looking at the data. They suggest that the car actually was maybe a little bit quicker. Tony dropped it in a little bit deep on the staging lanes, robbed a couple of hundreds for him. As you can see the work going on right now. They already have the clutch removed out of this car, and that's a clutch that is currently at about 800 degrees still, so some very heavy-duty gloves being worn by the bottom end guy there. Cylinder heads with the headers about to be removed. They will be totally replaced with new cylinder heads for round 2, as will a new supercharger be placed on top of this car as they get set to continue their championship chase. It's always fun to watch all the activity that goes on in a 75-minute turnaround.
Yeah, Marty, it's just great watching these guys work. And one of the keys, remember, with 75 minutes to get this thing apart and back together with fresh pieces, they will have all the other parts set up, ready to go. And a full rack of pistons and a complete clutch pack that allows them to be able to service that thing between rounds. What a lot of people don't realize, in order for them to be able to do that, these guys will spend like 80 or 100 hours a week preparing all those pieces to be able to do that in that amount of time.
And that's what makes this 7-week stretch so difficult. I mean, a lot of these guys have not had a break for close to 2 full months. And it has really taken its toll, not on just the wear and tear of the parts, but of the preparation and the fatigue factor. A lot of these teams just can't wait for today to be over because they're going to get a week off before we head to Las Vegas. Let's go to Parker.
And Marty, even with the stress and fatigue that the crews and the drivers have gone through, race days are still electric, especially for the drivers. And in this sport where there have been so many champions like Gary Scelzi, Darrell Russell, Doug Coletta in other forms of drag racing and other sport, for Greg Anderson, he's never won a championship before as a driver. Greg, today very truly could be a magical day for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I am probably the new kid on the block, but it's almost an out-of-body feeling right now. I'm trying to keep my emotions intact so I go out there and race and try and win a race today. But the bottom line is I have to go 1 or 2 rounds today to take over the championship and clinch it, put Kurt out of the running. But I just can't describe it. It feels so great. It's so wonderful. It's just beyond any kind of dreams I ever had. And, I am living my dream right now. So kids out there, that's what it's all about, man. Set your minds to it, and you can achieve.
Great example, no better than Greg Anderson. Living the dream. Today could be the fulfillment of what he's always wanted.
Oh, there's the Berryman mascot, Chem Tool. Of course, that looks like Corey when he loses a round sometimes. But McClenathan has advanced in round number 1. He'll be around for round number 2. And as we head into Pro Stock, here is the scenario for Greg Anderson. If he advances to the semifinal, it doesn't matter what Kurt Johnson does. But if Greg has a hiccup, well, Kurt has to just keep going round after round after round, and the national record perhaps in there as well. Here's how the ladder shakes out in the opening round. The arrow indicates, as always, who has the lane choice, and Greg Anderson's not going to have a walk in the park. As you can tell, he's got both Johnsons on that side, and there is the opposite side of the equation. And there is Kurt Johnson, number 2 in the points, as we get ready for Warren Johnson against Gene Wilson.
Warren Johnson's chosen that left-hand lane. He feels it's just a little bit smoother. He thinks the lanes are fairly even as far as traction, but the left lane from 300 to 660 is just a little bit smoother, doesn't get quite as much tire spin, but it's really a small difference.
For Gene Wilson, he is now qualified for 8 straight events after failing to qualify in 10 of the first 12. So you can see the team has turned that around. Oh, perfect light for Wilson. Translates into a whole shot win, 682 at 202 to the quicker but losing 679.
What a driving job. Perfect line. If he'd have been 1/1000th of a second quicker, he'd have been going home. But instead, he nails it. Has 4.5 hunters off the starting line on WJ. And there's the margin of victory at the finish line. Good job by Gene Wilson.
Let's go to Dave Reed.
Well, lost, but certainly not forgotten in the excitement that Corey Lee provided us was John Force, who won that round one matchup with a 486. And John, you and I were just talking. Still very much a part of this points chase. Now, you're still saying championship, but really the fact points to maybe second still.
Well, I don't even count the points anymore. Bottom line, I have to stay motivated. And if you want to just accept you're out, then you got no energy to go out there and fight the fight. I want to win every race, and I want to win every championship if I can. And along the road, like my friends to stay alive, Corey Lee goes way back when we were kids. When he was a kid, I wasn't. But, boy, when he went by me with no tire, that's the biggest fear. Next to a fire, the tire coming off in the lights is the worst thing a driver can have. And but he knew how to handle it. I watched him from behind. He was moving around, keeping him in the groove.
Staying up to fight the fight.
And back at the starting line, Troy Coughlin in the left lane, George Barnell in the right. Troy takes the win light at a 682, and for the 5th time in 6 matchups, Troy has taken the win over George Barnell. We got to take commercial break. There's the action going on back in John Force's campus. He gets ready for second round, the funny car. Back here with Mike Dunn, Bill Steele, Dave Reed, Parker Johnstone. I'm Marty Reed. Glad you're with us as you're looking at the hat cam of Rick Stewart, and that's Rick's view all day long. But I know a lot of people that would trade places if they could just to be in between all those cars. And right now we're into first round action of Pro Stock. Taylor Laster over in the right lane, Larry Morgan over in the left lane. These guys have not met in 2003. Check that. They met one time. That was back at Brainerd, and Taylor took that win.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Larry Morgan's really been looking good since bringing Bob Glidden on. We've talked about it a number of times, but that car has really looked impressive and has been very consistent. But Taylor Laster, I mean, he looked good in qualifying. I mean, he ran 687 basically every single time he went down the racetrack. And Larry Morgan, even though he ran slightly quicker qualifying with a 686, he fell off a little bit in that last session. But probably one of those things where Bob Glidden was just trying something. Let's see how aggressive we can get on it and see if the track will take it. I'm sure they'll have a good setup for the first round here.
For Morgan. And the win light in another hole shot. A 684 to a quicker, but losing 683. So both Mopars on hole shots. Let's go talk to one of those drivers. He's with Bill.
Mopar guys are knocking the Christmas tree over today. You had a perfect light. Larry just had a 004 light. Another hole shot win, and 2 for 2 for Mopar.
Well, I tell you what, us Mopar guys, we are ready to go some rounds out here. It's been a little while, but I feel like we got a good race day combination. And I don't know, the 000, that's cutting it a little bit close, but I knew I had to be good against Warren and just give it everything I got.
Any driver will tell you when you're that close to perfect, well, you got to take it a little easier next time.
Thanks, Bill. As you take a look at Alan Johnson, here's Pro Stock.
Let's talk about their specs on the chassis. The maximum wheelbase on a 2001 or later model car is 105 inches. Now, they talk about engine setback, which is the same thing as how far out the engine is in the fuel cars. The only difference is they are regulated by the rules how far that engine can be out, and that is 81.5 to 83 1/8 inches, and that's from the center line of the rear axle to the rear of the engine block. And if it's not within those specs, they don't pass tech inspection before the race.
Alan Johnson against Bruce Allen. Bruce, from just up the road a piece in Arlington, Texas, has never made it to the finals here in his hometown event. Oh, and he's not going to do it again. Throws away a 680 on a red light, and it was big red by a full 1/10 of a second. Alan Johnson goes 684. He cut a 002 light. What's going on with these guys in the Mopars on the tree? They are drilling it.
I want to know what they're having for breakfast, because, I mean, 3 of the drivers are between an 000 and 004. That's unbelievable. They're doing their job, though.
Yeah, how'd you like to cut a 004 light and you're the pooch of the bunch? All right, let's set the stage for you for Kurt Johnson. Here's what he has to do. He's got to keep winning. and in the process hope that Greg Anderson goes out in the first or second round. And you can see there's absolutely no pressure on Greg Anderson's face.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much over. I mean, he just basically has to show up the next races no matter what happens, but he's got to be feeling awfully good. But at any rate, Kurt Johnson, I mean, the competitor that he is, he wants to win races. If he can't win the championship, he still wants to win races, so he's going to take the same approach that he's taken all year to try to win.
Steve Schmidt will be the opposition over in the right lane. The top engine builder from Indianapolis. These two have not hooked up in 2003. Kurt, in his career, is 14 up and 6 down against Steve. And he's got a 770 win percentage here at Texas, so the odds are in KJ's favor. Beats a 684, 203.20 miles an hour, and Kurt Johnson stays alive in his battle for the championship as John Force is signing autographs. And we're coming back to the Texas Motorplex. Back here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals at the Texas Motorplex, and you're on board with Jake Coughlin, the defending Power-A champion. But he's not going to be able to hold on to that title much longer if Greg Anderson can just win 2 more rounds. He'll have Scott Jeffrey on over in the other lane. There is Greg.
You know, Marty, we're seeing an awfully lot of good lights here. And one of the things you got to remember, when the track conditions get cold, that rubber is very tight. When they let the clutch out, they don't get as much tire spin as normal, so it'll actually break the beams a little bit quicker. So they have to be very careful not to red light.
Scott Jeffrey on with a 001 light, and Jag not far behind. And a 681 at 202.
With a 1:2:02:29. Good hit, Jag.
And that 681 will be good enough for lane choice for Jag over Larry Morgan in round number 2.
I don't know where we left out there, but we got the win, boys. Good job.
So quickly, that battle is finished, and we move back to the starting line, where it is Greg Anderson and Mark Powick coming to the line. And while that goes on, here is Bazemore's crew getting ready for second round action in their conquest and chase for the battle and the championship. And Witt packing the parachute, getting it ready. And while that goes on, here is Mark Powick, who has struggled mightily this year, qualified in the number 16 spot, bumping his way in the last session yesterday.
And he's got a tough one with Greg Anderson. It doesn't get any tougher than that. But Mark Powick, he's won races in the past. He knows how to win. He just hasn't had the performance, hasn't been able to get everything together this year. Greg Anderson, on the other hand, he's had everything together. Made very few mistakes this year. That's why he's leading the Power-A championship. And that car just makes a ton of horsepower. And Greg's been doing a good job of driving all year.
Greg is 4-0 against Mark this season, 5-3 in their careers. And Powick goes 001. Can he hold on at the far end? The answer's no. 680, 203 to a 688 at 200 miles an hour. Just not enough grunt in the horsepower department. And Greg Anderson is 1 round away from clinching the championship.
Boy, Mark Powick just did his job. Like you said, 1/1000 of a second from perfect or 2/1000 from red light. He got the jump there ahead of Greg Anderson. But right there, look at Greg just starting to pull away and get the win. That's a lot of horsepower over there to have to try to stay ahead of.
But we have really seen some reaction times on the Christmas tree today. As we come down now to Dave Connolly and Mike Corvo, our final pair here in the first round of Pro Stock. These two have never met in competition, and In fact, Corvo, this is the first time he has qualified for the field, looking for his first ever NHRA round win in 15 events this year.
I'll bet he's excited. His first race, he's been trying awfully hard and ran good. Got in the show with that 687, but he's up against Dave Connolly. David Connolly is one of the best young drivers out there. Very, very good on the lights, very consistent. But it's one of those things like we talked about. You still got to be careful because, boy, we're seeing a lot of those double O lights. And surprisingly, we haven't seen that many red lights that with all those good reaction times because they're cutting it awfully close here.
That guy with the cigar you saw, if you're new to the sport, Bill Grumpy Jenkins. To the 20-year-old Dave Conley, and the Grump, well, I don't know if we'll get him to smile, but he's happy. Trust me. 681 to a 683, and Conley moves into the second round, and we'll have lane choice. As we took a look, it'll be Anderson and KJ with the lane choice on the left side. Over on the right, Dave Conley over Troy Coughlin, Jeg over Larry Morgan. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Just routine maintenance down on the Matco Tools Dodges. Lee Beard is very, very happy with what Whit Bazemore and the car did in round one. But Whit, we were talking about this being the championship that seemingly nobody wants to win. Now we know that nothing could be further from the truth. But as far as making mistakes, there are no more room for any errors.
No, there certainly aren't. But it's not that no one wants to win this. I think it shows really how hard it is to win. You know, not only a Powerade championship, but a race, even a round. I mean, heck, last week it was hard to qualify, and you know, it's just brutally tough out here. And but we know, you know, if we're going to win this championship, we've got to be perfect. And they have a little more room than we do, but we've got a great team over here. We're going to, for Matco Tools and Dodge, we're going to try to make it happen. You know, one round at a time.
And we've got to head towards commercial break as we visit the Nitro Mall. And you can find every kind of item there, even one with ESPN on it. Speed World event, final eliminations of round 21 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series, brought to you by Olive Garden. When you're here, your family. Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycle scooters and all-terrain vehicles. And Pfizer, dedicated to helping people live longer, happier, healthier lives. And we want to remind you that coming up right after our race coverage tonight on ESPN2, we've got the St. Louis Blues, the Colorado Avalanche. They're at the Pepsi Center. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Time now for today's Suzuki Track Fact. Track Fact brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles.
One of my biggest surprises when I came on the NHRA scene was to learn that the fire-breathing nitro motors were controlled by simple industrial pneumatic timers. The same sort of timers you find in factories around the world. And with these low-tech timers come drawers of ancillary equipment. So the question then is, why doesn't the NHRA allow sophisticated electronic engine management systems to control these 8,000 horsepower engines, Mike?
Well, Parker, the NHRA rulebook states that you're not allowed to use the computer to control any of the functions of the race car on a run. It can only be used to download data after the run. In that respect, it's easier to be able to police a pneumatic system versus an electronic system, and that's why they're only allowed to run the pneumatic timers.
Now, these cars are very sensitive to changes in environmental conditions, and with those changes, there's obviously a whole host of problems with these pneumatic timers.
Well, that's right, Parker. We're talking if the thing's just off maybe 100th or 1/10 of a second, if it's one of the early timers, that's going to affect the performance of the entire run because it'll either slow down or speed up all the functions of that car during that particular run.
What does the future hold for changing these timers to something more sophisticated?
Well, NHRA is actually looking at starting out by going strictly off the ignition, running electronic timers to change the ignition. They've submitted a proposal. They're going to test the system in December with the hopes of maybe coming out with it at the beginning of the year, which I think is a step in the right direction.
So you can see that it's important for crew chiefs like John Medell, and not only does he have to be a top-level engineer, it also doesn't hurt if he knows a little about plumbing.
Thanks, guys. Hey, when we come back, it'll be Scott versus Doug Kalita. And Doug's got to keep winning to deny that man the championship. In fact, that's going to be our first matchup, Kenny Bernstein and Corey McLenathan. The last time these two met was actually last year, round 2, back at Craner. Kenny won that matchup.
You know, Marty. These guys always race each other very, very tough. Corey McClenathan, obviously, he's won a lot of races, as we well know that Kenny Bernstein has also. But Corey, I tell you, that car is really looking good. John Stewart's done a good job with that team. Like I said the previous round, they've been qualified, doing really well in qualifying, and then struggling on race day. They struggled in qualifying here, but came out and they looked good the last 2 runs. If they can make some more consistent passes, they'll definitely have a shot against Kenny. But Kenny's, he's looking awfully tough, too. That car's been running real consistent with Tim Richards over there.
Bernstein looking to go to his 8th semifinal in the 13 events that he has run in. Corey Mack just looking to go to his 3rd semi of the season.
We still have that cloud cover, so the track's very tight. So hopefully we won't see any tire smoke, but normally in conditions like this, a lot of times you'll see tire smoke from the track being too tight, and they'll actually go out there and shake the tires. Not enough power, not enough tire spin early in the run and get tire smoke. But the track conditions are very good right now.
Great drag race, and a 457 beats a 460. 321 miles an hour. Darrell Gwynn says, oh, we were oh so close. Take another look.
Wow, this was a good race, Marty. Kenny Bernstein had 100th of a second off of the starting line, then pulled away a little bit on the other end to a 457 to Corey's 460. As we look down track, remember the groove is very narrow here. They got to keep it stuck. Both drivers did a great job. A little bit of sashaying, but didn't get out of the good rubber. Now we're able to stick that thing right down the middle of the track. As we watch Kenny Bernstein here, look at him just hike that left front wheel up there. As the clutch stages come in, they traverse over those bumps. The track's a little bit bumpy there, but that's what you want to do, and that was a great job. Put a cylinder out right at the other end, but good run.
So now we come to the moment at hand. Larry Dixon can clinch his 2nd consecutive Top Fuel Championship with a win over Darrell Russell here in 2nd round competition. For Dick LaHaye, you heard earlier, this would be his 5th total. 1 as a driver, his 4th as a crew chief. But standing in their way is Darrell Russell, the 2001 Rookie of the Year. Begins, well, actually, probably about the day after the awards ceremony is over. The planning, the race season at Pomona with the Winter Nationals, through the hot summer months, the Western Swing, the thousands of miles, the rain delays, 7 straight weeks, and you come down to a moment where you know you have history on your side and in your hands if you can just take the win. The winning percentage, incredible, 82.6%.
That is just an amazing stat, Marty, but I'll tell you, that's what Dick LaHaye does, and Larry Dixon also. I mean, he's always on his game. They make very, very few mistakes, and that's usually the way the championship goes, because at the beginning of the season, there's a lot of teams that are evenly matched as far as funding, talent, drivers, so forth, and usually it ends up being the team that makes the least amount of mistakes, and they've made very few mistakes. Darrell Russell here at his hometown track would like nothing better than put away Larry Dixon and go on and win this race. But it's going to be awfully tough. Wayne Dupuis struggled with the tune-up a little bit. It seems like if they get off the starting line without smoking tires, they can do okay. But they've been struggling a little bit, and let's see what happens here.
You're looking at the 2-time Top Fuel champion, 458, 324. Larry Dixon takes the win over Darrell Russell and takes home his 2nd consecutive Top Fuel crown. Dave Reef?
Doesn't matter how you do the math right now. It is a done deal, and what took this team to Las Vegas 1 year ago, you get in Dallas, Dick. Championship is yours.
Yeah, it's been a year-long thing, hasn't it? A lot of pressure all year, a lot of pressure for 2 years. Get right down to a lot of pressure for 3 years. We've done pretty darn well, and I can't thank enough the team, Don Perdome, Miller Bury. I mean, it's such a pleasure to run this operation.
Let's go over to Parker Johnston.
Championship number 6 for Don the Snake Perdome, 4 as a driver, now 2 as an owner. Do they get any easier, Snake?
I'll be honest with you, the ones as an owner feels better than the ones that I was driving. It's really, really hard to do. 6 world championships is pretty cool. Miller Lite, Dixon, the whole guys did great.
Very cool.
And as Snake goes to the far end to congratulate his team and his driver, we'll go back to the starting line because we still have a race to run. Paul Romine and Jim Head will be next up. There is Head. He's over in the left lane. He ran a nice 4:55 in the opening round. He's got lane choice, and he also has decided to go in the left lane. Although I don't think lane choice has been much of anything. There's Corey Mack congratulating Larry. Lane choice really hadn't been an issue today.
Yeah, especially in these conditions, Marty, when you don't have the sun on the racetrack. It just seems like the right lane maybe is a little bit bumpier out there at mid-track, but other than that, they're pretty much dead even.
Yeah, 6-4, pretty much flip a coin as we get ready for this race. In 2003, these guys have hooked up 3 times. Jim Head has won 2 of those 3 matchups. And it's a rematch from the semifinals at Reading just a week ago where Jim Head took the win light there.
You know, this is a good matchup between 2 teams that are really starting to come on strong here at the end of the season. Jim Head with some assistance from Alan Johnson coming off that runner-up finish in Maple Grove last week, and then a great 4:55 in the first round. Been looking awfully good as we look at Alan watching from the back there to get some more info for you know, what this track is going to be able to hold. But, you know, I'll tell you, Paul Romine on the other side looked awfully good. They've been running in the 450 range, too. Haven't done it this week, and they may need to do it against Jim this run.
Jim Head, he goes 4:58. 327 miles an hour. Paul Romine goes 4:69. Now, I think there's the champ, and Bill's caught up with him.
Ben Reiling from Powerade presenting Larry Dixon with the 2003 Powerade Top Fuel Championship Trophy. And Larry, last year it took you to Las Vegas to clinch it. You guys weren't in a hurry this time, were you?
I like the direction we're going. It's just it's a tribute to everybody on the Miller Lite team. Dick LaHaye, everybody, you know, they just you know, we found something a few years ago, and we just kind of methodically been working on it. And, you know, it's a great team. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
You guys weren't the quickest car this year. You weren't the fastest car this year. You were the most consistent car this year. Probably a lesson to the rest of the class. That's what it takes to win.
I've seen a lot of championships won that way, you know, as I'm growing up and watching it. And, you got to go down the track every time. I mean, you ain't going to win nothing if you're smoking the tires or red lighting or anything like that. So you got to point A to point B. Like I said, it's a credit to everybody on the Miller Lite team. I'm just a part of it.
The second year in a row, Larry Dixon, your Powerade champ.
Just too much, Larry Dixon. His 8th win of the year.
Everything that I've ever wanted to do for me in my lifetime, I've done it already. Like, it's all in there. Everything else is gravy.
Larry Dixon appeared in 13 finals with 8 wins so far. Not a single first-round loss in 2003. He won the championship last year and is now the 5th driver to become a back-to-back Top Fuel champion. And as the celebration continues, the reality is they've got to get ready for the semifinals and a matchup with guess who? Kenny Bernstein. And Bernstein will have lane choice by 1/100th of a second. Congratulations, Snake, and the entire Miller Lite team. We're coming back right after this. Nationals, the championship has been decided. Now it's on to more racing. That is Scott Kalita. And for the first time this year, these two, with cousin Doug alongside, will go head-to-head.
Well, and you can guarantee there's going to be no team winners here because obviously the championship race is over, so that's a no-brainer. But, you know, they're going to probably race head-to-head, you know, and basically they're using Scott's car to try to get a handle on a combination for next year. Doug Coletta ran a great 4:48 in the first round after struggling just to get down the track and qualifying, rebounded very nicely. They've been using Scott's car, though, to try to get the car to run quicker in the first 300 feet. They've been running a little bit slower than Tony Schumacher and Alan Johnson in the first 300 feet. They've been making most of their elapsed time from 300 feet to 600 600 feet. So they're using Scott as a test bed to try to get the car to accelerate. Once they feel that get that handle on that, they'll move that combination over to Doug's. And if that's the case, and they already ran a 442, how much quicker do they want to go?
Doug Kalitta looking to go to his 12th semifinal of the season. Scott trying to go to his second semi of 2003.
Scott's done a great job since he come back. I mean, he's one of the real natural drivers out there. Just gets right in and just took to it right away.
This one belongs to Scott. He goes 450 at 333. You saw Doug go up in smoke. Now that 333.95 miles an hour, if he can back that up, that'll be a new national record. He's already got the record at 333 flat.
Boy, what a pass. Scott Kalitta. Jeez, 453, almost 334 miles per hour.
We'll do the math and see if his earlier speed is enough. Doug's got the record at 333 right now. Scott, as you see Doug go up in smoke, has just bumped it up 333.95 miles an hour. And there's the ride back for Larry Dixon to the celebration of the fans back at the starting line area here at the Texas Motorplex. We'll do all the math, get the word to you when we come back. Here is the lane choice going to Scott Kalitta over Jim Head and Kenny Bernstein over Larry Dixon. And when we come back, the battle between Whit Bazemore and Tony Pedregon in the Funny Car Championship is continuing. It's not going to be decided today, even though John has happy feet. A moment shared between Don Prudhomme and his driver, Larry Dixon, while we were in commercial break as they win their second straight Top Fuel Championship. Boy, what a thrilling day we've had so far, and we're not even halfway through. We've still got the battle in Funny Car. We've still got a championship to be decided in Pro Stock. And all that action is about to unfold in Funny Car in second round, with Phil Burkhart and Del Worsham having the lane choice on the left side. And over on the right side, it's Gary Scelzi and Tony Pedregon. And to help us call all the action, joining us here in the booth from the K&N Filter Swapper, it is Frank Pedregon. Hello, Frank. Glad to have you with us.
How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing pretty good. Let's put one thing to bed right away. We had yesterday a report from Cruz that he is going to announce a second team car at the SEMA show. He would not confirm or deny whether or not it would be you or Tony in the seat. Do you want to comment?
No, I really don't know who's going to be in this. I don't even know anything about a second car.
Oh, the diplomacy that is going on here.
He's taking the fifth.
Yeah, well, as long as he's not drinking a fifth, and especially right here, right now. Let's talk a little bit about this championship chase. The battle between these two guys going down to the wire. Your brother's involved. What's he told you?
He hasn't told me very much lately, but it reminds me of when Cruz won the championship years ago. Nobody really expected it, but yet they were always looking over their shoulder. John Force, same thing all over again. And hopefully Tony can do it. Momentum's in their way, but Whit's coming on strong. So hopefully Tony could win it. He's my brother, and I'm a fan also.
Before we go to more on Funny Car, let's put a period on Top Fuel. Talk to a very fast driver. He's with Bill.
Scott Kalitta came back after a 2-year layoff in Indy, and already you've got the fastest speed ever recorded in NHRA history, 333.95.
Man, I tell you, it's incredible, especially since, I can't say enough about the Mac Tools bunch. I mean, we've been struggling a little bit. When I say bunch, I mean both teams, and we're pulling together, and we never say die, and can't say enough about them and John Aiden and everybody involved.
This has happened before, back in 1993 on the same weekend in Topeka, where we had the first 4-second pass in Funny Car and the first 300 pass in Funny Car. Scott Kalitta went 3:08, and at the time, that was the fastest speed in history.
Thanks, Bill. And now the tension builds again, because it's time for Whit Bazemore to come to the line against Del Worsham, and a lane switch right as they were coming to the line, and Del Worsham has lane choice. What's going on, Dave Reed?
Well, Marty, this is something that Lee Beard did not want to see. Already giving up about 500th per second performance advantage based on their round one time. But Whit Bazemore now has to take the left lane, and while Scott Kalitta was rumbling down the racetrack at 333.95 mile an hour, Doug Kalitta was dropping a little bit of oil on the racetrack. So the safety safari has been out on the racetrack. That concerns Lee Beard because he has increased the horsepower in this car. He knows there's a little bit left, and I asked him, how's this going to affect your tune-up? He says, well, just have to have confidence that the safety safari has done their job and done it well.
Yeah, Doug was charged with oil, his 5th of the year, so he loses 10 points, even though that's a moot point, but we'll find out now. Down, beats him with a 481 to a 483. Let's check in with Dave Reef.
Down with Lee Beard, didn't look like the lane was too much of an issue. Just Worsham just outran you.
Ours spun a little bit in the middle, you know, but hey, we gave it our best shot.
Let's take another look, guys. Tell me what you see, Frank.
I'll tell you what, looks like Dale's is going straight and stuck right in the center of the group. Both lanes look great. Safety Safari did a good job, but Dale just had a little bit more in it.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Frank. We look down track here, we see Whitten start to move towards the center line a little bit, and then goes back over towards the wall. Probably lost a little bit of the ET at that point, but the car did probably spin a little bit in the middle, like Lee said. When the car moved over, just right there, starts to move over towards the center line, a little bit out of the groove. Didn't smoke the tires, just probably spun a little bit more than what they were looking for. Still went 258 at the 8th, wasn't too bad, but then when it moved back over to the other side, probably lost a little bit of lapse time there.
So now the door is open for Tony Pedregon. We'll have to wait for that matchup for this one first between John Force and Phil Burkhardt. Force has won here 5 times. Burkhardt has the lane choice and has also selected the right lane.
But I tell you, Marty, Phil Burkhardt is really looking good, and this is the kind of track conditions he really likes. I mean, he's going to give Forrest a heck of a race right here.
Let's go to the far end to Bill.
Whit Bazemore just out of the car around. We all know that you're very much needed, Whit. It just wasn't yours this time.
No, you know, no, it wasn't. They did a great job over there, and they're a good team. But, you know, we don't give up, and we don't give up, so we ain't giving up.
Not much else they can say right now. They just have to keep their fingers crossed that Tony goes out here in a matter of moments. For Phil Burkhardt, he and Force have hooked up once earlier this year. That was at round 2 at Memphis. Force won that matchup.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like I said, Phil Burkhardt, his crew chief, Chris Cunningham, Mark Dinner, they really like these conditions. That car's been stuck in the 480 range in these type of conditions. So John Forrest, although he's got a very good car, it's going to be a tough race here.
Frank, what have you noticed about the lanes as far as when you were out there during qualifying?
I didn't really notice very much at all, other than they're both, the groove is narrow. I got out of the groove a little bit. This track seems to be holding it, but my deal is staying right in the middle of the groove here.
Oh, John went and put both lights on.
Nothing wrong with that left lane either. 483, 320, and a 494 for Phil Burkhardt at 313 miles an hour. So it'll be John Force, but he will not have lane choice over Del Worsham in the semifinals as the work is already underway in Larry Dixon's camp. Points lead to 114 if he can win the round against Gary Densham. Now Densham had lane choice and he has taken the right lane just as everybody else has since the oil spilled by Doug Kalita.
Well, actually, Marty, Tony had lane choice by 1,000ths of a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
And he took the left lane, but like we said earlier, I don't think there's any difference in the lanes at this point. We saw not only John go down run 43, but ahead of him, Whit run a 43, so there's nothing wrong with either lane at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely not an issue this time. Let's go to the far end of Bill.
Well, Del, you've been around the sport a long time. You've seen guys switch lanes at the last minute. It comes back to bite them, but that time your plan hung together.
No, it did, you know, and I told my dad all along, you know, if lane choice didn't matter, I told before first I'd rather be in the right lane. Left lane looked a little bit better. As soon as the oil went down in the left lane, he said switch him. You know, if nothing else, you like the right lane better. Let's keep you over there. My dad, Checker, Chuck, Craig, and the entire racing team, what a job they did. Coming back from an explosion last weekend and put down numbers like this, I cannot say how proud I am of all that.
And let's not lose sight of the fact he just played the ultimate spoiler in this title stage.
Absolutely did, as he is the defending event winner here from last year. Right now, Let's get more on Tony Pedregon. Dave Reed.
John Medlin watched John Forces run very closely before deciding on that left lane. Added a few drops of nitro. Says he wants to run the exact same number he did before. Sounds to me like this is a team that walks before they can run, and they don't want to give away a round.
Tony is 3 up, none down against his teammate this year. Here we go. Tony goes 486 at 313. You saw Dencham lose fire at about half track. And I'm sure that somebody will be guessing at something, but obviously we can't prove anything. Tony ran the car well, 486. Give that team credit. And the points now at 114 and moving on.
John Medlin, you wanted to run the same number. You were just that much quicker.
Yeah, I think that was just a gift. We'll have to tune her up for the next round. These guys are running good. We're doing the best we can. Go back and read the data and try to do it again.
Let's take another look at the run.
Yeah, I mean, Tony goes right down the track. But watch Gary Ditch. Look at all the cylinders go out on that left bank. Now, here's a theory. You go out there and you don't let the clutch come in, and it's going to put a lot of cylinders out, not go down the racetrack. That's possible. Otherwise, something else had to break for it to put that many cylinders out on the run, which is definitely a possibility. Tony Pedregon, on the other hand, right down the racetrack, nice and clean. 486, put a couple cylinders out on the other end, but got the round win.
So now it'll be up to our final pair of funny cars, Gary Scelzi and Dean Scusa. And Scelzi will be in the left lane.
And Gary Scelzi's looked really good. I mean, that car's just been on a rail, like we said the round before, just really, really running consistent.
And as they continue the process, let's check in with Parker Johnstone.
Well, as you look at the face of Dick LaHaye, you would never know that this team just won its second Top Fuel championship. In fact, all the crewmen are hard at work preparing for the semifinals. And with crewman Jason Wright, he's a drivetrain specialist. It's appropriate they clinch this in Texas. He was born and raised in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Was all the effort, everything that you sacrificed, worth it for this day?
Oh, you better believe it. This is great. You know, you'll never forget this. I'll never forget this day. Just like last year, you know, in Las Vegas, we clinched it, and it was great. It was a great time, great day. I'll never forget it.
But they're still hard at work. Like I said, they won't be drinking the Miller until day's end, Marty.
Well, they want to go out and win the race now because that, as Bill said earlier, it puts a period on it, caps it off nicely, and as we come back to the starting line, we focus our attention back at the race at hand between Dean Scusa and Gary Scelzi. Scusa trying to go to his 6th semifinal of the season, Scelzi to his 4th. To the quicker, but losing 493. The advantage off the line, 5/100ths of a second for Dean Scusa.
Tony, there are those watching this race who will probably surmise that your teammate did the right thing for you, but you've won 34 rounds this year against people other than Team Castrol. That's why you're in a position to win the championship.
Well, I mean, you're barking up the wrong tree if you want to know about Dencham. Last time I saw him, he was getting in his car, but can't take anything away from this team. We've won 7 races, and we're trying like heck. The guys have worked hard all week, all year, actually, and all week, and no giving up. You know, we've been through our hard times. We've proved it, and it's not over yet. I think Bazemore and Schumacher's team proved again that they're a good team. We're just, we can't ease up now. We're still got to try to capitalize. A lot of work to go.
But not as much as there was before the day began.
No, and you can see the matchups and who has the lane choice in the semifinals of Funny Car. Frank Pedregon, want to thank you for taking the time to join us here for this second round action, and we'll see you in Las Vegas.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, and as we head to commercial break, it is Pro Stock, which means we could clinch another championship if Greg Anderson wins the round. Stay with us. Lonnie, game time Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern is when we wrap up here at the Texas Motorplex. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Take a look at Pro Stock, and you can see that Greg Anderson, Kurt Johnson on the same side of the ladder. They both have lane choice, and of course, Greg can clinch. Dave Conley and Jake Coughlin have the lane choice over on the opposite side of the equation. In fact, it will be Conley and Coughlin coming to the line. There is Conley, and he is in the left lane. These two have never met in competition. for his 4th semifinal of the season. Conley trying to make it to his first semifinal of his career. Going with Grumpy Jenkins in tow to his first semifinal. A 684 at 202 beats a 685 at 201.
That's a nice pass by Dave Conley, 20 years old. The kid does a good job. 018 on the light and got the win.
So right now, brother Jag has seen Troy go out. More on this race. Let's check in with Parker first.
Well, something interesting in the pro stock ranks. Talking to Jason Line, working with Greg Anderson, he said they made a huge strategic mistake coming into this weekend. Despite the ET, the speed, and the #1 qualifying, he said they were running some development parts. He thinks they got down the wrong road, and now they're back on the right path, putting the car to some place that they know. I think that's very interesting, that with the championship up for grabs, not secure yet, that they would still be doing development work, guys.
Well, but they're still running low ET of every round of qualifying. I mean, I'd like to have such a problem.
Yeah, what a nice slump there. They're still #1. The things they're worried about not performing up to par. But what do you say? He's been doing it all year.
This could be an interesting little staging duel. Who's going to go in first? Well, it's going to be Jag. Surprising. I thought they might hang each other out for a while. See if they would. Oh, a red light. He was counted out. Larry Morgan did not get in the 7 seconds required. So the win light to Jag at a 681 at 202.
681.7, 202.02. Nice run. Larry forget the stage.
That's exactly right, Jag. Did Larry forget the stage? He did.
Yeah.
You get 7 seconds from the time 3 bulbs are lit. And he did not make it in time. The auto start automatically goes red in your lane. Jag gets the automatic win. So let's go back and take another look. The computer is in total control up to this point. It does the counting at 7 seconds. It goes red. And that's the end result. And Larry Morgan is out of there.
Get on board with Jag carrying that front end off the starting line. That front wheel cam, I think it's a neat shot. Look how the shock's working down that track. Very bumpy on this racetrack, but they did a great job to get down it. They've been running good all weekend.
And there is Larry Morgan, I'm sure not very happy. And now we go to the championship chase again. Kurt Johnson has to win this round to keep it alive, whatever faint glimmer that may be. Alan Johnson will be over in the other lane. And these guys are even up in the 2 matches they've had so far in 2003. KJ won at Englishtown in round 2. Allen won at St. Louis in round 2.
Both these drivers have to be careful for the red light because they've had their share of red lights this year. And with the track conditions, like we said, being tight, cars don't get that tire spin initially. That's a little bit easier for the red light because the car will actually move the initial 12 inches quicker and possibly run the risk of putting that red bulb on and going home early.
Going in first, Alan Johnson. Red light, Kurt. Championship over. Alan Johnson in a hole shot. 686, and there is your new champion, Greg Anderson, and he doesn't even have to make the run, Parker.
Doesn't, and I'm with the man who's been behind the driver, owner Ken Black. Ken, just last night you said you're looking forward to going to the awards banquet, but you don't want to wear a tuxedo, but congratulations.
Well, I don't even like to wear a suit or a tie, let alone a tuxedo, but for this, I'll rent a tuxedo for the banquet. I'll be there so I can sit down front with my people, so.
You must be very proud of this team and all they've accomplished this year because they did it in dominating fashion.
Oh, this is the greatest group of guys you ever seen. I mean, they just work hard, just 150% all the time. And they all get along. That's the most marvelous part about it all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And as all the pressure is now off Greg Anderson, Kurt Johnson, that was his 4th red light loss of the year. It couldn't have come at a worse time. As there he is climbing out of the AC Delco Chevy at the far end. Back at the starting line, Anderson and Gene Wilson. Let's get more from Parker.
Marty, you mentioned the pressure's off, and the team knows that that's a problem. Jason Line and Rob Downing trying to keep Greg Anderson's mind in the game, because one of the records, one of the goals that they had set out at the beginning of this year is to win 12, more than anyone else in pro stock history during the course of the season. So they've got to stay focused.
He has won 9 so far. The record is 11, held by Darrell Alderman. Big advantage, Gene Wilson. Big horsepower, Greg Anderson. Wife Kim, Jason Line, who will be driving in the second team car full-time next year. They are both happy. A 680 at 203. Let's go to Bill.
Well, here's the Johnson family. That's cousin Alan, but he's the black sheep of the family. Well, thank you. Hey, you know what? You had a pretty good year, Kurt. You gave it a good fight. And I know you and your dad. This offseason, you're going to be really working like crazy to come back next year and make it all right again.
You act like this year's over already.
Well,
we still got 2 more races to go, and you know, the clutch linkage on this car, we just got to slow it down. You know, we've been slowing it down every race, and it just got bit again.
Well, he still has a second place finish, which isn't too bad, but we all know he was going for the big prize.
And can you tell the pressure is off for the new pro stock champion, Greg Anderson? Let's go back to Bill.
Well, not actually the biggest surprise in NHRA Power drag racing this year, Greg Anderson, but, you know, I think the thing that's most impressive is that almost from the opening day of the season this year, you made no secret of the fact that with the new team you brought on board and with your new commitment, this was going to be the end result.
I think everybody else knew we were going to be a heck of a threat this year, too, but till you go out there and actually prove it race after race after race like we did, I think they're all believers right now. Man, I'm just so proud and so happy. Thank you, Lord. What a wonderful day.
I talked to you 2 years ago before you started your own team, and we talked about your expectations. You said the first year, maybe a championship, at least a top 5 finish. You got that and almost the title. So you probably aren't too shocked that you had the ability to win it in your second year out here, something very few people have done.
No, I'm not shocked, but I still, you know, a very humble guy, and I would never go out on a limb and say, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. It's a hope to. It's always a hope to, because there's just so many things involved. But, you know, it looks like the smartest thing I did was hire the crew I've got between my guys on the car and my guys in the engine shop. They just do a wonderful job. My team owner, Ken Black, there is no better team owner in the world than him, and I just owe him so much. He's done it all for me, and I thank him so much.
Ben Reiling has something he'd like to give to you right now.
Yeah. How about that?
So the trophy is his. Greg Anderson has come a long way from his days as a crew chief for the Professor Warren Johnson, with a national ET and speed record, 11 poles, and 9 wins in 12 finals. It's been Anderson teaching the pro stock field how to win the 2003 Powerade Championship. And our congratulations to the new king of the factory hot rods. At the 18th running of the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, and it's not over yet. Let's get more from Bill Stevens.
Greg Anderson has his ceremonial check for $200,000. Do you have 2 forms of ID? No, never mind. You know what? I'm going through my mental history books here and trying to recall if anybody's ever won this championship in their second year out. I don't think it's ever been done before.
I don't know either. You know, I guess the only one that would even come close would be Jag. We'd have to check on that. He's such an awesome racer, but if I've done it the same as him or even before him, that's quite a feather in my hat, because I really look up to him. He is quite the driver out here, and everybody knows it. You know, maybe this puts us on the map, too. I think we've had a pretty stellar year, and I'm really quite proud of the thing everybody's done for me and everybody that's helped me out and the family support I've had.
That'd be the next question right here. Kim, you're at the starting line every round, at every race. You're always there behind Greg. There's got to be a special moment for you.
It's a dream come true for everybody, for the whole team. Thank God up above for giving this to us.
You come from a racing family. We know that your dad has been in it a while. Does that make it a little bit easier for you with the rigors of travel and everything?
Yes, my father, we've done this deal, and it's just so hard to do it out here. He is at home right now, jumping up and down, believe me. He is very proud of him. We have done excellent. We have had an excellent year. We got great family support.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And if you were with us yesterday, Greg was asked what kind of dress Kim was going to have for the awards ceremony. He said, I don't know, but it's going to be very expensive. Let's go to Parker.
I knew funny car driver Johnny Gray was in the house when I saw his helicopter parked down at the finish line. And Johnny, last time we saw you, runner-up at the U.S. Nationals, then you left Worsham Racing. Now you're back here in Texas, and there are a lot of rumors running around about open seats and funny car. Is that what brings you out to the track?
Well, there's some open seats in several classes right now. We've been contacted by, a few different people in different classes, everywhere from pro stock to top fuel. So I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, you've driven all sorts of different kinds of race cars. What holds your interest right now? Where would you like to see yourself driving next year?
I'd like to be in a real good competitive funny car. Everybody loves to drive a funny car, but as long as it's competitive, I don't care. If you want to go race go-karts, I'll fight you to the bitter end in a go-kart. I don't care.
Well, we hope to see you behind the wheel again next year, Johnny.
Well, thanks. I hope to be back out here.
Thank you, Parker. It's good to see Johnny. Stay with us when we come back. We're heading towards Wally time here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. Football, you got to have Monday Night Countdown presented by UPS on your schedule. Stuart Scott and the gang will bring all the details to you at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. And then, of course, it'll be Monday Night Football at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. It is Al Michaels, John Madden, and Lisa Guerrero as the Falcons battle the Rams on Monday Night Football on ABC TV. Let's check it now with Dave Reef.
With the pride of the independent funny car operations, Dean Scusa, a guy who went through the first 12 races this year, Dean, with no semifinal appearances. And now in the last 9 races, we're there for the 6th time, and that's exactly what you want to do in the back half of the season.
It is. We had kind of a rough start, just like you mentioned, Dave, but I can't help wondering if we would have started out like this, where we'd be in points, if you just doubled our point, we'd probably be in 3rd or something. But when you're looking for a deal, and we're trying to put some stuff together, you got to run good. Performance is everything. So, hopefully it's perfect timing. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
As we get ready for the Top Fuel semifinals, Scott Kalita, Jim Head, and the Battle of the Beer Wagons, Kenny Bernstein and Larry Dixon. And semifinal times are here, and cars have already been fired. Let's talk a little bit about this semifinal, because 3 of the drivers, Doug Kalita, Kenny Bernstein, Larry Dixon, all former champions and the current champion as well. Only Jim Head has not won a national championship, but Head has won in both funny car and in Top Fuel, as has Kenny Bernstein and Scott Kalita. Only Larry Dixon doesn't be included in that pair or that quadrant. Let's check in with Parker.
Marty, I checked in with both teams, and both co-crew chiefs, Kim Richards and Donnie Bender, said almost the exact same thing. We're going to try to run a 456, 457, regardless of what the other car does, because that's all we think the track will hold right now. Very conservative strategy in these semifinals.
Mike, the only 2 drivers that have a winning record against Larry Dixon this year in competition have been the 2 drivers of that Budweiser red car?
That's a pretty amazing stat, but when you consider that man right there calling the shot, Tim Richards, about as talented individual that comes, and he definitely has a handle on getting a car down the racetrack when he finds it, and I like his style as we watch Brandon there. Just go out there and just run your mid-450s and see what happens. That's Dick LaHaye's classic tune-up also, so if that happens, this will be a great race.
At 329 miles an hour to a 456 at 325 miles an hour. Let's take another look.
I think Kim LaHaye lied to us. That was better than a mid-450. 452, you see that thing hike the front end up after launch off the starting line. Very aggressive early numbers. I tell you, Tim Richards had that thing tuned up pretty good to run 452 at almost 330 miles per hour. As we look down track, look at Kenny Bernstein. That thing is just stuck straight as an arrow, just a little bobble towards the end. And that was a nice pass. Let's watch Larry here. Not a bad run either. He carries the front end like he always does off the launch and still runs a 456 at 325. 271 miles per hour at the 8th mile. Right about there, that car was chugging along. But look at Kenny Bernstein pulling away for the win.
So Bernstein is into his second final in the past 3 races. And will it be Scott Kalita in the right lane going to the final? Or will it be Jim Head for the second race in a row?
Kenny Bernstein, one of the quickest and fastest runs since you've been back in that car. 4:52.329.
Well, I appreciate it. I can't say nothing about Tim and Kim and the team. Budweiser doing Lucas. Of course, Mac Tools, our tool guys. But I want to say this first. Congratulations to Larry Dixon and Dick LaHaye and to Don Prudhomme Racing, to Don himself. They've won it 2 years in a row. That's fantastic.
Always classy.
Thank you, Bill. And as we turn our attention back to Scott, there you see the numbers to back up his national record run. He has to go 330.61 or faster. Parker?
Checked in with these 2 teams as well. Alan Johnson making an ignition change just before they rolled up to the start line, trying to push Jim Head's Top Fuel dragster faster than the 58 he turned in the corners. On the other side, Jim Oberhofer told me, hey, we're going to run 450. That's all we know how to run. And I said, what, are we going to see 334? And he said, if it was up to Connie, you'd see 340.
To back up the record, but a 4:52 sends Scott Kalita to his first final since Dallas here back in 1999. In fact, it's his 5th trip to the finals here at Dallas. He loves this racetrack. Take a look, and by 9/1000th of a second, lane choice will go to Scott Kalita in the Top Fuel final here at the O'Reilly Fall National. Stay with us when we come back. Dean Scusa, Del Worsham, John Force, and Tony Pedregon will do battle.
Recently.
Back here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals at the Texas Motorplex. It's round 21 of the NHRA Power and Drag Racing Series. And as you can tell, it's time for semifinals in Funny Car. John Force going to try and dance his way to the final, but Del Worsham may put an end to that. Dean Scusa and Tony Pedregon will match up in the other semifinal. Del, the defending race winner here. And as he gets ready to put it in reverse and back it up, Scott Kalita's at the far end with Bill.
Not quite enough to back up the speed record, Scott, but back in 94 and 95 when you were winning championships, Kenny Bernstein, those really weren't his best years in Top Fuel. You're going to find a whole different red car in this final. You're going to need a lot for him.
That's okay. We're going to give it our best shot. I mean, my dad and the boys are doing a heck of a job, and I'm having fun. So, you know, I made it to the final. Hey, we'll take it whatever happens.
And best attitude to have, Parker.
Bill, I was down in John Force's pits during the turnaround. The crew absolutely believes John Force will win today and then pass Whit Bazemore as we head into Vegas. They think it's predestined. They're very confident. Dave?
But to do that, they're going to have to pass one of their biggest nemesis over the last few years, Del Worsham. I talked with Chuck Worsham with a 481 in the first round and a 481 on the board in the second round. He likes this combination. He leaves it alone and says if John Force can go quicker, faster, so be it.
These guys are 2-2 in head-to-head matchups in 2003. John left on him. Whole shots down. A 488 to the quicker, but losing 486. He had 7 100ths advantage on the starting line.
I tell you, I think John Force might have took a little shot at the tree right there, but got a great jump off the starting line, like you said, Marty. An 020 to an 090, 700ths in the bank, and there's a difference at the finish line. Let's watch John Force. Not too much wrong with this run. Started hiking and finding up a little bit as the clutch stages were coming in. Straight down the middle of the track and got the win at a 488 to Del's quicker 486.
Back at the starting line now. Engines have already come to life for Tony Pedregon and Dean Scusa. Tony already has widened the lead to 114 points. Dean Scusa has moved back into the top 10 in the Powerade Championship points chase. He has bumped Cruz Pedregon to 11.
Well, John, since 1990, the late Steve Evans said it a million times, and I feel like I'm probably going to say it as many. You just won in a hole shot.
Well, it kind of helps sometimes. Driver gets to do his job, but obstacle burning, these young kids, they build the greatest Fords in the world out here to race in, and I'm excited about it. And for Castro, Syntec, the people been with me with all these wins. Let's see if we can get them another one today. And hey, never mind.
Parker. Bill checked in with Tony Pendergon's crew chief, John Medlin. He said the track's a little warmer. The air's not quite as good. So basically, they haven't touched anything from that last round because they think they're safe. They're going with the exact same tune-up that we just saw John run. Figures it works for John, should work for Tony. Dave?
Dr. Brian Karate, Dean Scusa's crew chief. They've only been able to put a couple of 490s on the board while dropping cylinders. They're going to do the best job they can to plug those holes, but they are not looking to run anything stellar. This is a lower finance team that's working on a budget. They do not want to go out and break parts right now. So the plan is to go out, try to put a 490 on the board. And if Tony Pedregon makes a mistake, that's going to get him a win.
Thanks, guys. As we get ready for this matchup, another 20 points at stake. Whit Bazemore is a big fan of Dean Scusa right now. And Scusa's done it. A 5:08 to a 5:30. He was first off the line by 6 100ths. He cut an 0-1-0 light.
Man, must be something about that right lane because they're nailing those reaction times, aren't they? Tony Pedregon, though, I mean, he had a good run. He definitely got left on, but he was making up some time by the 8th mile. He picked up 0.05 of a second, but shortly after that, something broke. You see the backfire through the supercharger. He tried to hit the throttle just to make sure it was totally dead. It didn't go anywhere, and that allowed Dean to go by for the win.
Dave Reef?
Down with Brian Karate. It wasn't the 490 you were hoping for, but it was the mistake you were maybe counting on.
Yeah, we needed a mistake in our lane because I didn't have it tuned up as what it needed to be to win that round.
So is the philosophy pretty much going to be the same for the final round, or are you going to maybe lean on it a little?
We'll see what the parts look like. I had to try something that run. He was supposed to shut it off, but obviously didn't see him.
Well, there it is. 114 points now, as Tony has 2 more races to go before he can clinch his first ever Powerade Championship. So it is far from being over yet. Let's talk about the matchup. John will have the lane choice. He's going to his first final since Seattle, 5th of the season. And for Dean Scusa, his 3rd final of the season and 3rd in the last 7 races. The Factory Hot Rods when we come back to the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. Continues on Tuesday. Leon's in trouble, and the coach and the team have to decide how to handle the situation. It's 9 o'clock Eastern and Pacific on ESPN, and it's also available on high def on ESPN HD. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Let's check in with Bill.
Tony, I got to preface this by saying I'm a Red Sox fan, so I'm condemned to a life of eternal pain. But for you, neither you nor Whit have been able to come up with a knockout punch. This adventure continues.
Well, it seemed like it was on its way. I mean, the performance is back, and for some reason, it just popped the blower again. And just trying to close the deal, and it's awful tough. Believe me, I'm the first to say I want this season to end. But one thing for sure, we're going to keep the ESPN's ratings up. We're going to Vegas. Keep everybody tuned in because far from over.
And we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, we do. Hey, it's time for the Pro Stock semifinals. Dave Conley looking to go to his first ever final against Jed Coughlin, who's been there, 48 times. And Alan Johnson up against Greg Anderson. These two are no strangers to the final round, especially Greg. As we get ready and are on board with Jeg Coughlin. These two have met, he and Dave Conley, 3 times. Jeg has won all 3 of them. Gets a 002 light, but not enough horsepower.
683 with a 020183. Good job.
So Jed moves moves into his 49th final of the year. Let's take another look at the run.
Well, let's go on board with Jeg Coughlin. I mean, this is the master right here. Look at him move the wheel off the starting line. Probably had a little bit too much wheel speed early in the run, but then he's hitting the gears, and the horsepower just allowed him to get by Dave Connolly right at the end. But I'll tell you, give that 20-year-old credit. Look at that reaction time against the best driver in the business. He did not buckle to the pressure. Nailed that light very good, but probably that interchange probably hurt him a little bit on the horsepower, and that allowed Jeg Coughlin to get by from 60 feet, and there was a margin of error, or margin of victory right at the finish line.
And the guys report from the pits that Conley had a motor change right before that final round. So Jag into his 49th career final. Who's going to meet him there? Will it be the new champion, the guy who will wear the #1 next year, Greg Anderson, or will it be Alan Johnson looking to go to his 3rd final of the season? Let's get more from Dave.
For the driver of the Mopar car, the key to getting past the Powerade champ will be making a good run. He's been giving it up down low in the first 60 feet. He says if they can improve their performance in first gear, they stand a chance, as long as he doesn't press the tree too hard. Already 002 and a 003. Can't press it much further.
Concern for crew chief Rob Downing with this matchup. Greg Anderson and Alan Johnson is keeping Greg focused. It was hard enough to keep him focused in the quarterfinals, but now that he's made the run with the check and the trophy, and there are bald spots from Jeggy's last launch, big concerns down here.
Keep an eye on the tree. Alan Johnson has gone red 5 times this year. And he does it again. A 680 at 203, and you can see wife Kim is loving it as Greg is going to his 12th final of the season. Let's check in with Bill.
Jack Coughlin, you must have felt, in a way, you were racing yourself out there. Dave Connolly, a standout sportsman driver, had been going rounds in pro stock as a kid, just like you did back in the late 90s, but the experience paid off for you that time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what paid off there. I know a lot of hard work from Team Jegs, but you know, Dave and Mike Cirillo, the whole Bullet team, obviously has been doing a great job. But you know, this racetrack today is changing on us. That's exciting. You know, that mixes it up a little bit. You know, the 83 out there was a little bit soft that round, but we'll get her tuned up for the final, and we're pretty excited to be here.
Jeggy's hitting his stride, maybe a little too late this year, but still, it's good to see the yellow and black coming around, Dave.
Well, let the record show that the red team today won the battle, although the blue team won the war, and a man very much in that war up until Englishtown was Brandon Bernstein, a guy who watched at the starting line with a lot of earnest, watching Larry Dixon clinch a championship that, quite frankly, for the first 8 races, you were very much a part of.
Yeah, well, we were, and it was disappointing with the crash and everything, but you know, that's a great team over there, Dixon and those guys, and this is a great team right here. Don't get me wrong, we were right there in the thick of things, and I wish it would have turned out a lot differently, but you know what, we live and learn, and we learned a lot that weekend, and we're going to be all right next year.
And I imagine the wick only gets turned up a little higher now for next season.
Just a little bit. This car's running awfully good right now. I just hope it kind of carries over into the new year, and we start out just as hot as we did this year.
The hardest part for this kid is he absolutely feels 100% well, but not well enough to drive yet.
Can you imagine the matchups next year if Kalina, Schumacher, Brandon Bernstein, and Dixon are all running hot? Don't forget to join Bill Stevens for NHRA Today next Sunday. We're going to be at the ESPN Zone in Las Vegas, and John Force is going to be a guest as well. That's noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Bill, I am jealous. Extra time in Las Vegas.
Yeah, my accountant says I'd better behave myself. You may know her name. It's Debbie Stevens. Anyway, the 2003 NHRA Powerade Top Fuel Championship now is in the books, and we wanted to introduce some of the Miller Lite team to you. Right here is Walt Hurd. He's from Tucson, Arizona. He's the driveline specialist for Dick LaHaye and Larry Dixon. Next door, of course, gentleman we've spoken to before, Donnie Bender, the assistant crew chief. And a pretty big day, Donnie. 2 straight championships.
Yes, it was real nice to go ahead and wrap it up here in Dallas. Last year it took us to Vegas, so everybody's real thrilled about this.
Well, congratulations from everybody on our end. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Bill, over here in Dean Scusa's pit is a parts graveyard. It just goes to show you how fickle this sport is. We talk about this team being underfinanced. They're trying to run this car very, very soft, and well, you see what very, very soft will do for you. Throws the rods right out of the bottom of the engine. This will be their 4th engine change of the day, and as Pop Scusa said, they are very hesitant to change the combination because they continue to go rounds. But I talked to Brian Karate, and what the problem seems to be, it's a fuel issue. The car somehow seems to drop a cylinder early, drop a second one late, and then it throws the rods out of the bottom of the car. But they expect some wholesale changes, including a new fuel pump, as they will try to go after John Force and take out 2/3 of the Castrol camp en route to the win today. Over to Parker.
Dave, for Anthony Vanetti, he'll be collecting his second championship top fuel ring. He's from Reno, Nevada. This is his second year in racing. Not bad. 2 for 2, Anthony. And to my immediate right, John Collins. He's from Central America, just like Dave. Grew up in Iowa. He is the specialist that works on the superchargers and the ignition. What does it mean to you and the rest of the guys to have won this championship, considering this is your first year with this team?
It's just unbelievable, you know, for me, being the first time on this team, working for Prudhomme Racing for 3 years now. But, you know, we lost the battle but won the war, and it's just amazing. There's a great group of guys to work with. Can't wait for next year.
And they're all smiling guys, but you know what? They still wanted to win. The championship just isn't enough sometimes.
Yeah, but we will be back with those finals in all 3 pro categories when we return to the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. Do some serious ground pounding here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. It's time for the finals in our 3 professional categories. Who's going to take home the Wallies? Will it be Kenny Bernstein for the first time ever at Dallas? Or will it be Scott Kalita? In funny car, John Force is going to go up against Dean Scusa. And Jeg Coughlin and Greg Anderson going to renew an old rivalry. First up, it is the factory hot rods. Lots at stake here. You already know Greg has won the championship, but he has to win this race. In fact, he's got to run the table if he wants to set a new record for wins in a season. It's held by Darrell Alderman at 11. He's got 9 right now. And let's get more from Dave Reed.
And as you can imagine, after winning the championship, the team a little bit giddy back in the pit area, but as this final round has approached, the team's focus has returned. And Greg May said it best when he said this championship hasn't sunk in just yet, so why not a little icing on the cake with a win to go along with that championship? It'll sink in later.
The other side of the track, crew chief Roy Simmons, working for Jeg Coughlin, said they were a little weak with the clutch at the start of that semifinal round. They're hoping to hop it up, looking for a 680.81. That is exactly the same number that Greg Anderson's crew chief Rob Downing told me they were going to run. This could be decided at the tree, guys.
Well, this is be the 4th final that these guys have hooked up, and Jeg has won 2 of them on a hole shot and when Greg went red. So that is win number 10. 2 to go for the record. Parker?
Crew chief Rob Downing, another win, a perfect weekend. #1 qualifier. You guys have done it all. Congratulations.
Well, I tell you what, it's a tribute to this team. It's a great team. The Black families gave us a lot of support this year. Everybody's worked real hard. What can I say? It's a great weekend. World Championship. I don't even know how to respond.
More records, win number 10 on the season. A perfect day for this team, guys.
This is the 500th event in Pro Stock, and the Wally's going to have Greg Anderson's name on it.
Jeg Anderson knew he was going to have to cut the tree pretty close. He missed it by 15,000ths of a second. He was going to need it because Greg Anderson ran that 680 to Jeg Coughlin's 683. But what a great job by that team all year long.
Let's send it to Bill.
Yeah. Let's see.
And it's you again.
#1 qualifier, low ET, top speed, wins the event, Powerade Championship. Is there a governor's race in Texas? Because I think you ought to capitalize on that.
What a day. You know, I'm thinking about going right from here to Las Vegas and throwing it all on the line. I usually have no luck there, but how could I go wrong on a day like this? If I get there before midnight, I got to win.
Yeah. What a day for this guy. Just immense.
Well, if he waits just a couple of more weeks, he'll be in Las Vegas for a race, and he probably will win that one, too. Let's go again to Bill.
Well, it isn't often, Jag, that you're on the wrong end of a red light. Trying to hit the tree a little hard?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I was 22 the round before, and we made a slight adjustment to pick that up a little bit. I was 10 first round, and you know, probably shouldn't have made that adjustment. But that's all right. We've been sneaking up on this whole gang, and you know, we're pretty proud. Everybody at Jeg should be real happy. Not my chipper self here. You know, you're never real fired up after making a mistake. But the team did a great job. They gave me a great race car all day, and that's the bottom line. And we'll regroup and head to Vegas.
And we'll probably end the season on the upbeat, a good springboard heading into 2004.
Yeah, he still has a chance to move into second place in the points if Kurt Johnson keeps going out early. Time now to turn our attention to funny car. There's Dean Scusa, and boy, has he had a day. No matter what happens, Dean is guaranteed to moving up into 7th place in the points. That's a jump of, or I should say 8th place, a jump of 3. He started 11th. If he wins this race, he jumps to 7th, 4 positions. There's John's road to the final. He took care of Team Worsham, beating Corey Lee, Phil Burkert, and Dell.
You know, and Dean Scusa, they've been hurting a lot of parts today. They've had trouble with the drop in cylinders. We heard that they were going to change the fuel pump for this run. Basically, what happened is the fuel curve is not right. It's mixing the cylinders up. You're not getting efficient burn on all 8 cylinders, which takes away horsepower, obviously, but also contributes to the parts breaking. Hopefully, they can hit the combination right with this pump and give John Force a race and possibly get the win.
Dave, what's the game plan for Dean?
Well, major change coming into the staging lanes because of the oil that came out of the #1 cylinder in the semifinal. It got into the magneto and the ignition system and caused the thing to entirely short out. They had no power at all, so they've strapped in an auxiliary battery, which obviously is working because the car is running. But this is what Dean Scusa likes to do, race John Force. It's his last win came 5 years ago against this guy, and it's been a long time coming, so he's going to try to get it done.
Scusa won the last matchup between these two. That's up in the semifinals back at Memphis. For Force, well, he's owned Dallas. He's won 5 times already, looking for number 6. John Force, win number 109. His 3rd of this year, which makes it 14 straight years where he's won at least 3 races, and he moves within 63 points of Whit Bazemore for 2nd place, Parker.
With Austin Coyle, you and John should become honorary Texans with the success you've had at this place. Congratulations.
Well, we've done pretty good at this racetrack. Something about it being all concrete just kind of suits our style. But, you know, conditions are pretty good here today, and we managed to run good enough to win. That's a good day.
More points running down Whit Bazemore for 2nd in the championship, Dave.
Can't understate what a win would have meant to Brian Crotty and to Dean Scusa, but a very valiant effort by this team today.
Yeah, we worked our hardest today. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Had some issues with some motor damage, and we battled, you know, the best we could with 75 minutes. It's hard to fix a major problem in 75 minutes.
Now, as John Force said, they fought the fight, but so too did John.
Take another look at this run.
Boy, both drivers left together, and then about 330-foot mark, basically, it looked like Dean might have put a cylinder out right about there and started mixing them up, and that allowed John Force just to pull away for the win. Still a great job just for Dean Scusa and that whole team to get the car back after all the damage they've been having this weekend. But John Force, what can you say about him? Didn't run the big numbers, but man, the car was very, very consistent in the 480s all day long, in through qualifying. Just stuck her right down the middle and did what they had to do to get the win. They raced smart today.
All right, let's show you the points, because you can see now that Whit Bazemore is 114 behind, and the magic number coming out of Las Vegas in 2 weeks for Tony Pedregon, 138. So you can see it's 1 round of racing as he has to go farther than Whit to claim the championship. There is John. Let's go talk to him, Bill.
John, we haven't seen it as often this year as we have seen it in the past, but a typical John Force performance today.
Still the champ, 12 of them, and I already do. You know what it's all about, but the credit goes to Austin Coyle, Bernie, and all these kids, and all the teams. Gary Densham with AAA, Tony in the Centec car. All these Mustangs share the technology, and that's how we do it. And that's really, really the bottom line. And I'm excited to win here in Dallas. I love Texas, and a lot going on this weekend, but the crowds were great. We gave them a great show, so I'm excited. Austin would like to say hi to Lisa at home, and you know, bottom line, the Fidel group, Gettings and Lewis, all these people, MB&A, Fred Wagner, all that action, the old boxcar heap got around. So I'm excited, and I'm really excited. I'm just a little different than I was when I was young. I just show my excitement in a different way. But we're heading toward that championship, and I'm going after Bazemore. That's my job.
Yeah, John has made that apparent when it looked as if Tony was going to be the #1 car this year, that his goal was to finish 1 and 2 with Tony, and he's on course to do that.
Thanks, Bill. As you see it, some of the numbers back in the Top Fuel starting line. Kenny Bernstein has never won in Top Fuel here at Dallas. one of the few exclamation points not on his long, illustrious career. Scott Kalita, there's the number he has to run to back up the speed record. And there is Connie. Guess what? The Texas resume is complete. Brandon loves it. 451, 327 miles an hour. Dave Reed.
Somewhere in the middle of this group of red folks, you'll find one very happy crew chief. Cheryl Bernstein there to congratulate Kim LaHaye as well. And here is the man that has tuned Kenny Bernstein to what may be as complete a resume as Kenny Bernstein can have. His first Top Fuel win in his home state here at the Dallas Texas Motorplex.
I didn't realize it was his first, but I'm glad I'm the crew chief for him. The guy is a great driver. He's a great racer. He's everything. I'm glad I have this job, and what a wonderful crew to work with, and the whole Budweiser King company.
We talked to you before this round. The 52 from the last round jumped up, surprised you a little bit, but you thought you could go even quicker, and you just did.
It actually didn't surprise me because we were going for it at that point. I figured I had nothing to lose, and I knew Dixon would probably go at mid-50, so we needed to do it.
Let's head over to Parker Johnstone.
With co-crew chief Jim Oberhofer. Jim, before this round, you told me it would be a typical Kalita pass, all or nothing, and it was nothing.
Well, it was. I mean, you can't take Kenny and Tim Richards lightly over there. I mean, that's a great team, and hats off to them for winning the race. But, you know, this team over here, we had a rough weekend in qualifying, and I'm really proud of all these guys on this Mac Tools, Jesse James team, and, you know, everybody that supports us, Red Line Oil, you know, Champion Spark Plugs. Wish we could have won this race, but you know, that's the way it goes. We'll just go to the next race and hopefully do a little better.
And they come away from this race with the fastest pass in drag racing history, guys.
And take a look at the points. Kenny Bernstein started the day in 10th. He jumps all the way up to 7th with the win. Let's go talk to him. He's with Bill.
Kenny Bernstein.
Can't believe it.
Late 60s, your first Top Fuel ride, wasn't it at Green Valley, somewhere near here in Dallas? And look at where you are today. We thought we'd never see this moment come. You've won in Top Fuel here at this racetrack.
Well, thank you so much. There's a lot of great people around this area of Texas that helped me in the beginning, and we thank them, obviously, by all means. For my dad, you know, who's going through tough times. But I can't say enough about, you know, Budweiser and the team, and Tim and the Kim, and the whole team that did a super job, and Lucas Oil, of course. But it's just so good when you win in your home state at your home track. I mean, it's unbelievable, and yeah, it's hard to explain right now. It's going to sink in when I'm traveling down the road to California here tomorrow afternoon, but it means a lot. And to O'Reilly, we appreciate them being involved with us. And we got a real good fan over in Englishtown, New Jersey, actually about 2 miles from the racetrack. Maria, this for you.
Let's go back, take a look at the run. You can see Kalita goes up in smoke early, and boy, Bernstein on a rail.
There wasn't much wrong with this pass. Like you said, Marty, had very good numbers early in the run, 276 miles an hour at the 8th. Watch it, that thing was stuck right in the groove, straight as a rail, just right down the middle of the lane. So we look from down track, pick the front end up. Boy, look at that. No bobble whatsoever. That was just a nice pass, and the numbers show it. A 451 at over 327 miles per hour. Great job by that team.
His 67th career win. Let's talk to Mr. Kalita.
Oh, so close. But Scott Kalita, you know, you're sounding a warning shot to this category that next year you are not going to be a guy to take lightly.
Oh, you know, I hope that's the case. You know, I'm trying my best, and so is the team, and we'll be there next year. And you know, I can't thank the folks at Mac enough for helping us out here and putting this together. And can't wait till next year. This is just kind of warm up.
As much fun this year as it was in '94, '95.
Probably more. You don't have the pressure this year.
Ain't that the truth?
All right, we'll wrap things up here at the Texas Motorplex. We've still got 2 rounds of racing to go, and we'll talk about that when we return. We'll give you our air dates for Las Vegas when we return here to Dallas. Your race headquarters. Back here at the Texas Motorplex, and this was Kenny Bernstein's crew during the commercial break. And watch, these 2 guys are big enough to probably play linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. And they just hoist him right into the air as he wins for the first time in Top Fuel here at Dallas. And now, I want to remind you, noon next Sunday, Bill Stevens from Las Vegas, a special edition of NHRA Today, and John Force will be his special guest. You'll see it on ESPN2. our schedule for 2 weeks from now. Qualifying on ESPN2 on Saturday, then Sunday at noon Eastern time on ESPN2, NHRA Today, and early eliminations on ESPN at 5 Eastern, and final eliminations at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And while we've got a brief moment, let's talk a little bit about the 2 championships that were clinched today. I mean, Larry Dixon is really starting to make a case for becoming one of the premier guys ever in this division.
Well, just that whole team, since he's teamed up with Dick LaHaye, they don't make any mistakes. They know how to run races. They know how to win races, and that's the key. They're just very, very consistent, very concise, and just do everything right.
And Greg Anderson, he's still got a shot at the all-time record for wins in a season.
And that's amazing. As competitive as Pro Stock was last year, for him to be able to come out and dominate like he did this year, that's a testament to that team.
Hey, we still have 2 more championships to decide. That'll be done in 2 weeks, but we've got to get out of here for now. For Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reef, Parker Johnstone, and our entire ESPN2 crew, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us here on round 21 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Some of the celebrations and some of the action that we have seen here this weekend at the Texas Motorplex. Blues and Avalanche coming up next. NHL hockey here on ESPN2. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. We'll see you in 2 weeks from Las Vegas, everybody.